The champagne toast at my sister's wedding wasn't meant for the bride. It was meant to destroy me. 200 guests, crystal chandeliers, a picture-perfect family in our suburban dream home. Everyone who mattered was watching. That's when my father stood up, and instead of celebrating his eldest daughter's marriage, he pointed straight at me and said the words that would shatter my life. Before this celebration continues, you all need to know the truth about my youngest daughter. The room went silent. She's pregnant. She has disgraced this family. Then my mother stood. Her voice was steady, cold, final. This house has no place for trash like you. Get out. I should have cried. I should have begged. I should have collapsed under the weight of 200 judging eyes. But I didn't. I walked out of that ballroom in silence, my bridesmaid dress soaked by the rain with nowhere to go and no one to turn to. What my parents didn't know was that their cruelty would forge me into something they couldn't control. That the baby they wanted erased would grow into the one person who could bring them to their knees. 15 years later, they lost everything. And when they came crawling back, desperate and broken, my son looked at them and said the two words that ended it all. This is the story of 3 generations poisoned by shame, of a cycle I had to break, of revenge that became something far more powerful. Stay with me because what you're about to hear will shock you, break your heart, and ultimately show you that sometimes the greatest victory isn't destruction, it's becoming everything they said you'd never be. My name is Jane Mitchell. I'm 16 years old, a junior at Riverside High School, and up until today I thought I knew what my family was. I thought I understood the rules. I thought if I stayed quiet enough, small enough, invisible enough, everything would be fine. I was wrong. The house I grew up in sits on Maple Street, the kind of suburban neighborhood where every lawn is perfectly manicured and every driveway has 2 cars. Our 2-story colonial has a white picket fence that my father repaints every spring. From the outside, we look exactly like what we're supposed to be: successful, respectable, normal. My father is a lawyer at Henderson and Associates downtown. My mother taught 3rd grade for 20 years before retiring to focus on what she calls family management. My sister Lydia, 8 years older than me, has always been everything I'm not: confident, beautiful, perfect. Today is Lydia's wedding day, and our house has been transformed into something out of a magazine. White roses everywhere, silk ribbons cascading down the staircase, caterers moving through the kitchen like a choreographed dance. My mother has been planning this for 18 months, and I've heard her say at least a dozen times that this wedding will be the event of the season. Over 200 people are coming. Neighbors, my father's colleagues from the firm, members of my mother's charity organizations, Lydia's friends from her marketing job. Everyone who matters in our little world will be here to witness the perfect daughter marry the perfect man. I'm wearing a pastel pink bridesmaid dress that my mother picked out 6 months ago. Back then, it fit perfectly. Now it pulls tight across my middle, the fabric straining in ways that make me want to disappear. I've been tugging at it all morning, trying to make it hang differently, trying to hide what's becoming impossible to hide. The ceremony itself passes in a blur. I stand at the altar beside Lydia, holding her bouquet while she exchanges vows with Marcus, her fiancé, who works in finance and drives a BMW. The church is packed. I can feel eyes on me throughout the entire ceremony, and I tell myself I'm being paranoid. But when I glance toward the pews, I catch Mrs. Henderson from next door, staring at me with narrowed eyes. She looks away quickly when our eyes meet. The reception is being held in the country club ballroom, the same place where my parents have been members for 15 years. Crystal chandeliers hang from the ceiling. Round tables draped in ivory linens fill the room. Everything is elegant, expensive, exactly what my mother wanted. I take my assigned seat at the family table right between my father and an empty chair that belongs to my Aunt Maria, who didn't show up. My mother hasn't sat down once since we arrived. She moves from table to table, greeting guests, her smile never faltering. But every few minutes she circles back to where I'm sitting. "Are you feeling all right, Jane?" she asks, her voice tight. You look pale. I'm fine, Mom. Stand up straight. And stop pulling at your dress. People are watching. People are definitely watching. I can feel it. Conversations pause when I walk by. Women lean toward each other, whispering behind their hands. My father hasn't looked at me directly since we left for the church this morning. He sits beside me now, his jaw clenched, staring straight ahead. Lydia is radiant at the head table, laughing with Marcus and his groomsmen. But every so often her eyes find mine across the room, and there's something in her expression I can't quite read. Not anger exactly. Maybe pity. Maybe guilt. She knows. Of course she knows. I told her 3 weeks ago, swore her to secrecy, begged her not to tell our parents yet. She promised. But looking at her now, I'm not sure what that promise means anymore. The first course is served. I push food around my plate, my stomach in knots. My mother returns to the table, leans down between my father and me. I spoke to Dr. Chen from the hospital board, she says quietly. Such a lovely woman. She asked about you, Jane. Asked if you were planning to apply to any pre-med programs. She pauses. I told her you were still deciding on your future. The way she emphasizes future makes my skin crawl. Dinner ends. The speeches begin. Marcus's best man tells a funny story about a fishing trip. Lydia's maid of honor tears up talking about their college friendship. Then my father stands. The room falls quiet. He's good at commanding attention, always has been. In the courtroom, they say he's ruthless. At home, he's mostly just absent. I want to thank everyone for being here today, he begins. His voice is steady, practiced. Lydia has always been the pride of this family. She's accomplished, ambitious, and today she's marrying a fine young man who will take care of her the way she deserves. He raises his glass toward the head table. People applaud, but he doesn't sit down. My mother stands beside him. They exchange a look I've seen 1,000 times before. It's the look that comes before bad news, before punishment, before disappointment is made public. My heart starts hammering in my chest. My mother's hand is shaking slightly as she picks up her champagne glass. She glances at me, just for a second. And in her eyes I see something that terrifies me. Not sadness, not even anger, just cold, absolute certainty. My father clears his throat. Before we continue the celebration, he says, and his voice has changed. It's harder now, formal. There's something else that needs to be addressed. The room is so quiet I can hear my own breathing. He turns, looks directly at me for the first time all day. Stand up, Jane. I don't move. Can't move. Stand up! My legs feel like they're going to give out, but somehow I stand. 200 faces turn toward me. The chandelier above feels like a spotlight. My mother is staring at me with those cold eyes, and my father's jaw is set in that way that means the verdict has already been reached. This is it. This is the moment everything changes, and there's nowhere left to run. The words come out of my father's mouth like a judge reading a sentence. My daughter is 16 years old, and she is pregnant. His voice carries across the ballroom, clear and deliberate. She has brought shame to this family. For a moment, nothing happens. The room is frozen. 200 people holding forks halfway to their mouths, champagne glasses suspended in midair. I can see Mrs. Chen's face go slack with shock. Mr. Patterson from my father's law firm leans back in his chair as if he's been physically pushed. The woman in the lavender dress at table 7 clutches her pearls. Then the whispers start, a low rumble that builds like thunder. Heads turn toward each other, hands cover mouths. I see phones coming out of pockets, screens lighting up under the tables. Someone near the back lets out a small gasp. I'm still standing. My legs have somehow not collapsed beneath me. The pastel pink dress suddenly feels like it's made of lead, pulling me down, suffocating me. Every eye in the room is on me now, judging, calculating. wondering how this happened, who the father is, how long I've been hiding it. My mother rises from her chair. She's shaking, but her voice when she speaks is steady, cold. "We have tried," she says, addressing the room as if I'm not even here, "to raise our daughters with strong values. We taught them right from wrong. We gave them every advantage." She turns to look at me, and I see something in her face that I've never seen before. Not just disappointment, not even anger. It's disgust, pure and complete. "But Jane chose a different path." Her voice is getting louder now. "She chose to disgrace herself, to disgrace this family, to make a mockery of everything we stand for." I want to speak, want to explain, want to tell her that it wasn't like that I didn't choose this, that I'm terrified and alone and I need my mother. But my throat has closed up. No sound will come out. "This house," my mother says, and now her hand is raised, pointing at me like I'm something contaminated, "has no place for trash like you." The word hits me like a slap. Trash. She called me trash. In front of everyone. In front of her friends, her colleagues, the entire community we've lived in for 10 years. "Get out." Her voice cracks on the words, but she doesn't lower her hand. "Get out. Now." The ballroom has gone completely silent again. Even the whispers have stopped. I can hear the hum of the air conditioning, the distant clatter of dishes in the kitchen. Someone's chair scrapes against the floor. A phone camera flash goes off, then another. I look at my father. Surely he'll stop this. Surely he'll tell her she's going too far. But he's staring at the wall behind me, his jaw clenched so tight I can see the muscle jumping. He won't look at me, won't acknowledge me. He's already erased me. My eyes find Lydia at the head table. She's standing now too, one hand gripping the edge of the table so hard her knuckles are white. Her face is pale, her eyes wide with something that looks like horror. For a second, I think she's going to say something. Going to step in. Going to be my sister. But Marcus puts his hand on her arm, leans in to whisper something. And Lydia stays where she is. I scan the room one more time. All these people I've known my whole life. Mrs. Henderson, who used to bring us cookies at Christmas. Mr. Wu, who taught me how to ride a bike. The Johnsons, who live 3 houses down. Not one of them moves. Not one of them speaks up. Some of the older women are shaking their heads, their expressions a mixture of pity and righteous judgment. I see Mrs. Patterson whisper to her husband, her face arranged in that particular look of scandal-tinged sympathy. The younger guests have their phones out now, not even trying to hide it anymore. I'm going to be on social media within minutes. The lawyer's pregnant 16-year-old daughter publicly disowned at her sister's wedding. My mother is still pointing toward the door. I said, "Get out." Something inside me shifts. Some small part of myself that hasn't been crushed yet. I won't cry. I won't give them that. I won't fall apart in front of these people who are already picking apart my life like vultures. I straighten my spine, take a breath, and I start walking. The distance from the family table to the ballroom doors feels like miles. My heels click against the hardwood floor, each step echoing in the terrible silence. I keep my head up, keep my eyes forward. I will not run. I will not stumble. As I pass table after table, I feel the weight of their stares. Some look away when I get close, embarrassed to be caught watching. Others lean in, eager for a closer look at the disgraced daughter. I hear fragments of whispers as I walk by. Only 16. Such a good family. Where did they go wrong? That poor woman. The poor woman they're referring to is my mother, not me. I'm almost to the door when I hear footsteps behind me. Quick, hurried. For a wild second, I think it's my mother coming to take it back, to tell me she didn't mean it, to pull me into her arms and say, "We'll figure this out together." But it's Lydia. She catches up to me just as my hand touches the door handle. Her fingers wrap around my wrist, stopping me. When I turn to look at her, There are tears streaming down her face, cutting tracks through her perfect makeup. "Jane," she whispers. Her voice is so quiet, only I can hear it. "I'm sorry." For a moment, hope flares in my chest. She's going to come with me. She's going to choose me. But then she says the rest. "I'm sorry, but I can't lose this too." I stare at her, at my sister, at the person who used to braid my hair and sneak me extra dessert and promise she'd always protect me. "Lydia?" I start, but she's already pulling her hand away. "I'm sorry," she says again, and then she's backing away, returning to Marcus, to her perfect wedding, to the life that doesn't include me anymore. I push open the door and walk out into the lobby. Behind me, I hear the sound of the ballroom door closing, sealing me out, and then faintly, the sound of my mother's voice resuming steady and controlled, as if nothing happened, as if I never existed at all. The country club lobby is empty. My footsteps echo on the marble floor as I push through the heavy glass doors and step out into the evening air. The parking lot stretches before me, rows of expensive cars gleaming under the streetlights. BMWs, Mercedes, my father's Lexus parked in the front row where everyone can see it. I have no keys, no wallet, no phone except the one in my small clutch purse with maybe 15% battery left. No money for a taxi. And even if I did, where would I tell the driver to take me? The first drops of rain hit my shoulders as I start walking toward the street. Within seconds, it's pouring, the kind of sudden summer storm that drenches everything in minutes. My carefully styled hair plasters to my face. The pastel pink dress clings to my skin, the fabric turning dark and heavy with water. My heels slip on the wet pavement, and I nearly fall, catching myself against a lamppost. Behind me, I hear voices. The first guests are leaving. Car doors slam. Engines start. I keep walking, not looking back, but I can feel them seeing me. Can hear the sudden silence when they notice me stumbling along the sidewalk in my ruined bridesmaid dress. A car passes slowly. Through the rain-streaked window, I see Mrs. Chen's face, her mouth pressed into a thin line of disapproval. She doesn't stop, doesn't offer a ride, just drives past like I'm a stranger. Another car, the Hendersons. I've known them since I was 8 years old. Mrs. Henderson looks right at me, then deliberately turns her head away. Mr. Henderson accelerates. "What a shame," I hear someone say from behind me. The voice carries through the rain. What a shame for their family. They're talking about my parents, feeling sorry for them, for what I've done to their reputation. I reach the edge of the country club grounds and keep going. There's a small public park 2 blocks away, one with a playground and a few benches under oak trees. The rain is relentless now, cold enough to make me shiver. My teeth start chattering. But I can't go back. There's no back to go to anymore. The park is deserted. I sink down onto a stone bench under a tree that provides almost no shelter. Water runs down my face, mixing with tears. I didn't even realize I was crying. My whole body is shaking from cold and shock and the horrible crushing weight of what just happened. How did I get here? That's the question that keeps circling through my mind. 6 months ago, I was normal. I had a family. I had a future. I had a boyfriend named Connor who held my hand in the hallways at school and told me I was beautiful. Connor. God. Connor. I let myself remember him. Now let the whole story flood back. We met last October in biology class. He was 17, a senior captain of the soccer team. When he asked me out, I couldn't believe it. Me, the quiet sophomore who spent lunch period in the library. He wanted me. For 6 months it was perfect. Movies on Friday nights, long phone calls about nothing, my first real kiss in his car outside my house. My parents liked him. My mother said he came from a good family. My father nodded approval when Connor shook his hand. Then came the party in March. Jamie Sorensen's house. Her parents were in Florida for the week. There must have been 50 kids there, music pounding red plastic cups everywhere. Connor kept bringing me drinks, telling me to relax, to have fun. I'd never drunk alcohol before. Didn't know what it would do to me. Didn't know how to say no when everyone was laughing and dancing, and it all felt so grown up, so free. The details blur after that. I remember Connor's hand on my back, guiding me upstairs. A bedroom with the door closed. Me saying maybe we should go back down. Him saying it was fine, everyone did this. Didn't I trust him? Me not knowing how to make the words come out right, how to make my body move the way I wanted it to. Everything happening too fast, spinning out of control while I lay there confused and scared and unable to make it stop. Afterward, he drove me home, kissed me goodnight like nothing had changed. "I love you," he said. 3 weeks later, I took a pregnancy test in the Target bathroom. 2 pink lines. I threw up in the toilet right there. Then I called Connor. He answered on the first ring. "We need to talk," I said. He met me at the park. This same park where I'm sitting now, soaked and shivering. When I told him, his face went blank. "Are you sure?" he asked. "Are you sure it's mine?" That's when I knew. He wasn't going to help, wasn't going to stand by me, wasn't going to be the boyfriend who held my hand through this. "I need to think," he said. Then he left. I tried calling him the next day. The call went straight to voicemail. I texted. No response. At school on Monday, he walked past me in the hallway like I didn't exist. By Tuesday, I realized he'd blocked my number. By Wednesday, I heard he'd told his friends we'd broken up because I was crazy. I was alone. 16 pregnant and completely alone. I tried to hide it. Wore baggy sweatshirts, made excuses about feeling sick. But you can only hide something like this for so long. My mother found the pregnancy test box in my bathroom trash 3 weeks ago. She didn't yell, didn't cry, just stood there in the doorway holding that empty box, her face completely emotionless. "We'll discuss this later," she said. "After your sister's wedding. We will not ruin Lydia's special day." I thought that meant they were going to help me, that we'd figure it out together as a family after the wedding was over. I was so stupid. The rain is starting to let up. My dress is completely ruined, the pink fabric stained and stretched. I'm shaking so hard I can barely breathe. I have nowhere to go, no one to call. I could try Connor again, but what's the point? He made his choice. They all made their choices. Which means I have to make mine. I could end this. Could find a way to end the pregnancy. End the shame, go back to being invisible Jane who doesn't cause problems. That's what they want. What they expect. Or I could run. Disappear. Change my name. Start over somewhere far away where no one knows me. Or I could do something else entirely. I place my hand on my stomach over the small curve that's becoming impossible to hide. There's a life in there. A tiny, innocent life that didn't ask for any of this. And yes, I'm terrified. Yes, I have no idea what I'm doing. But I'm not nothing. I'm not trash. I'm not what they said I am. "I will survive," I whisper to the empty park, to myself, to the baby. I will prove them wrong. My phone buzzes in my clutch. I pull it out with numb fingers, expecting nothing. But the screen shows an incoming call. Unknown number. I answer. "Jane." A woman's voice. Older. Unfamiliar. "This is your Aunt Maria. I know what happened. Come to this address now." She gives me an address on the east side of town, a neighborhood I've only driven through on the way to somewhere else. 20 minutes by taxi, she says, and tells me she'll pay the driver when I arrive. I don't question how she got my number or how she knows what happened. I'm too cold, too tired, too broken to question anything. I just start walking toward the main road phone clutched in my hand like a lifeline. The taxi driver who picks me up doesn't ask questions. He takes one look at my soaked bridesmaid dress and ruined makeup and simply turns up the heat. The address leads to a modest apartment complex, 3 stories of faded brick with external staircases. Nothing like the manicured neighborhood where I grew up. The driver pulls up to the curb and a woman is already standing outside holding an umbrella even though the rain has stopped. She pays the driver through the window, then turns to me. Come inside, Jane. Let's get you warm. Maria doesn't look like my father. She's small and thin, with gray streaking through dark hair pulled back in a simple bun. She wears jeans and a cardigan, glasses perched on her nose. But when she smiles at me, tentative and sad, I see something familiar in the shape of her eyes. Her apartment is small but clean. A galley kitchen opens to a living room with a worn sofa and a sewing machine set up near the window. Fabric samples are pinned to a corkboard on the wall. Books line makeshift shelves. It smells like lavender and old paper. Bathroom is through there, she says, pointing down a short hallway. I'll get you some dry clothes. She brings me sweatpants and a flannel shirt that are too big but soft and warm. I change in the bathroom, catching sight of myself in the mirror. My mascara has run in black streaks down my face. My hair hangs in wet tangles. The girl staring back at me looks like a stranger. When I come out, Maria has soup heating on the stove. Not from a can, but real soup with vegetables and noodles floating in golden broth. She gestures for me to sit at the small kitchen table. How did you know? I ask. My voice comes out hoarse. Your mother called me 2 hours ago. Maria ladles soup into a bowl, sets it in front of me with a spoon. She wanted to make sure I knew not to contact you, said you were no longer part of the family, and anyone who helped you would be cut off too. Then why did you call me? Maria sits down across from me. Because I knew they would do this. They did the same thing to me 20 years ago. The soup is hot and good. I eat while she talks, letting the warmth spread through me. I was 32, Maria says. I fell in love with a man named Thomas. He was a high school teacher. Kind, intelligent, made me laugh. But he came from a working-class family. His father was a mechanic. His mother cleaned houses. She pauses. Your grandfather said Thomas wasn't suitable. Said I needed to marry someone who would elevate the family's standing. They'd already picked out a lawyer for me. Harold something. I'd met him twice. What did you do? I refused. Told them I loved Thomas and I was going to marry him whether they approved or not. Maria's hands wrap around her own cup of tea. Your grandfather told me I had 24 hours to break it off with Thomas or I'd be disowned. I thought he was bluffing. I went to Thomas's apartment, told him what happened. We decided to elope. Did you? No. Your father showed up at Thomas's door the next morning with 2 of his law school friends. They told Thomas that if he didn't leave town immediately, they'd have him arrested on false charges. They'd ruin his career, his reputation, everything. Thomas was terrified. He left that night. I never saw him again. I set down my spoon. My father did that. Your father has always been your grandfather's son. He learned early that maintaining the family image was more important than anything else. More important than love. More important than happiness. Certainly more important than the people who get in the way. Maria's voice is gentle but firm. After Thomas left, I refused to marry the lawyer, so they declared me a stain on the family. Cut me off completely. I haven't spoken to your father in 18 years. Your mother maybe twice in all that time. How did you survive? I'd learned to sew from my grandmother. I started taking in alterations, making dresses for people. It wasn't much, but it was mine. I built a life on my own terms without them. She reaches across the table, covers my hand with hers. It wasn't easy, Jane. There were nights I ate ramen for dinner because that's all I could afford. Times I thought about giving in, apologizing, begging them to take me back. But I didn't. And I'm glad I didn't. Do you regret it? Losing your family? I regret that they made me choose. But I don't regret choosing myself. She squeezes my hand. This family puts reputation above everything. Above love. Above truth. Above their own children. They will never apologize to you, Jane. They will never admit they were wrong. In their minds, they did what was necessary to protect the family name. What am I supposed to do? Don't wait for them to change. They won't. Don't hope for reconciliation. It won't come. Not on terms that matter. Maria stands, takes my empty bowl to the sink. You build your own life. You find your own people. You create your own family from the people who actually see you and value you. I don't know how to do that. You learn, the same way I did, the same way everyone does who gets thrown out into the world before they're ready. She turns back to face me. You can stay here as long as you need. The couch pulls out into a bed. It's not much, but it's safe. For the first time since I walked out of that ballroom, I feel something other than terror. Not hope, exactly. Not yet. But maybe the beginning of it. The tiny seed of possibility that I might survive this. Thank you, I whisper. You don't have to thank me. We take care of each other. That's what family is supposed to do. She shows me where the blankets are, how to pull out the sofa bed. I help her make it up with sheets that smell like fabric softener. My phone is dead now, battery finally giving out. Maria plugs it in to charge on the kitchen counter. As she's turning out the lights, I notice something on the bookshelf. An old wooden box, the kind that might hold jewelry or letters. The lid is slightly ajar, and I can see yellowed paper inside. What's that? I ask. Maria follows my gaze. Her expression shifts, becomes guarded. Old family letters. Things I probably should have thrown away years ago. Can I see them? She hesitates, then nods slowly. Maybe you should. Maybe it's time someone else knew the truth about this family. She brings down the box, sets it on the coffee table. Inside is a stack of letters tied with string, the paper thin and fragile with age. I pick up the top one carefully. The handwriting is masculine neat, and the salutation makes my breath catch. To Maria, burn this after reading. Love your brother. I look up at Maria. My father wrote to you. Once, she says quietly. A long time ago, before he became the man he is now. Read it if you want, but be prepared. The truth about this family goes deeper than you think. I untie the string with trembling fingers. The paper is so old it feels like it might crumble in my hands. Maria sits down beside me on the sofa bed, close enough that our shoulders touch. The letter is dated June 1995, 30 years ago. My father would have been in his early 20s. The handwriting is careful, each word precisely formed. It starts without preamble. Maria, I'm writing this because someone needs to know the truth, and you're the only person I trust. What happened to Catherine isn't what everyone thinks. She didn't go away to that boarding school for a year because of academic opportunities. She went because she was pregnant. I stop reading, look up at Maria. Catherine, that's my mother. Keep reading, Maria says softly. Father found out when she was 4 months along. Some boy from her high school, I don't know his name. Father was furious. Not at the boy, he never even tried to find out who it was. He was furious at Catherine for being careless enough to get caught. He said she'd ruined herself. Ruined the family. He gave her 2 choices. Have it terminated quietly and never speak of it again or be disowned. She was 17 years old, Maria, younger than I am now. She cried for 3 days straight. Mother wouldn't even look at her. On the 4th day, Father drove her to a clinic 2 towns over. I wasn't supposed to know about any of this, but I heard them arguing through the walls. I heard Catherine begging them to let her keep it. I heard Father tell her she was being selfish and stupid. When she came home that night, her eyes were empty, like something inside her had died. She never talked about it. Not once. Father enrolled her in that boarding school and told everyone it was a special academic program. When she came back a year later, it was like it never happened. Except I can see it in her eyes sometimes. The emptiness. The loss. I don't know why I'm telling you this. Maybe because I'm getting married next month to a woman Father chose for me, and I keep thinking about choices and what they cost us. Maybe because I'm afraid of becoming him. Burn this letter after you read it. If Father knew I wrote this down, he'd never forgive me. Your brother. The letter ends there. No signature, Just those 2 words. Your brother. I read it again, slower this time. My mother was pregnant at 17. My mother was forced to terminate. My mother went through exactly what I'm going through now, except she didn't have a choice. Did you know? I asked Maria. Before you got this letter. No. Your father and I were already distant by then. I'd refused to come to his wedding because I didn't approve of how it was arranged. This letter arrived a week later. I think writing it was his way of saying goodbye to the person he used to be. I noticed something in the margin of the letter, faint pencil marks in different handwriting. Maria's handwriting. Wounded people often wound others. I wrote that years later, Maria says, following my gaze. After I'd had time to think about it. Your mother's cruelty didn't come from nowhere. It came from her own pain, from having her choice stolen from her. But understanding where pain comes from doesn't excuse passing it on. I fold the letter carefully, place it back in the box. My hands are shaking. She went through this. She knows exactly what this feels like, and she still did it to me. Yes. How could she? How could someone who suffered like that turn around and inflict the same suffering on her own daughter? Because she never healed from it. Because your grandfather convinced her that what happened to her was her own fault, that she deserved the punishment. So when she saw you pregnant, she didn't see her daughter needing help. She saw herself and all the shame she's carried for 30 years. Maria takes my hand. This isn't about you, Jane. It never was. It's about a cycle of trauma that's been running through this family for generations. Your grandfather did it to your mother. Your mother did it to you. And if you don't break that cycle, it will keep going. I won't do that. I would never do that to my child. I believe you. But believing it isn't enough. You have to actively choose something different. Every day. For the rest of your life. We sit in silence for a while. The apartment is quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and distant traffic sounds from the street below. I think about my mother's empty eyes. The way she looked at me in that ballroom. Not with hatred, but with something worse. Recognition. The next morning, I wake up to Maria gently shaking my shoulder. Jane, something came for you. She hands me an envelope. Expensive paper. My father's law firm logo in the corner. My name written in his precise handwriting. Maria must have given him the address. Inside is a single sheet of letterhead and a check. The letter is brief. Jane, what happened at the wedding was regrettable but necessary. You left us no choice. However, we are not without compassion. The enclosed check is for $5,000. It should be more than sufficient to handle your situation discreetly. After that is taken care of, we expect you to leave town. There are communities where no one knows you, where you can start fresh without the burden of your mistake following you. If you choose to ignore this offer, if you attempt to contact us or speak to anyone about family matters, you will regret it. We have resources you cannot imagine. We have protected this family's reputation for 3 generations, and we will not allow you to destroy it. Make the right choice. Father. The check is made out to cash. The amount line is blank. Pay to the order of whatever it costs to erase you. Something hot and sharp rises in my chest. I read the letter again. Handle your situation, your mistake. Make the right choice, just like they said to my mother 30 years ago. I stand up and walk to the kitchen. Maria is making coffee, but she stops when she sees my face. What did it say? Instead of answering, I tear the check in half, then in half again, and again. I keep tearing until it's confetti in my hands. I let the pieces fall onto the kitchen table like snow. Jane, Maria says carefully, that was a lot of money. I don't care. I won't let them erase this baby the way they erased my mother's. I won't let them pay me to disappear. I won't let them win. My voice is shaking but steady. This ends with me. The cycle ends with me. Maria looks at the torn check, then at me. Her expression is hard to read. Your father isn't going to take this well. That letter was a threat, Jane. When you reject it, there will be consequences. Let there be consequences. I'm not afraid of him anymore. Maybe you should be. Maria's voice drops to almost a whisper. Your father is scared. Scared that you'll talk. Scared that people will find out about your mother's past. Scared that the perfect family image he spent his whole life building will crack. And scared people are dangerous. We need to be very, very careful. That night, I lie awake on Maria's pull-out sofa, staring at the ceiling. My hand rests on my stomach, feeling the small curve that's growing there. In a few months, this will be a person. A whole human being who will depend on me for everything. I'm 16 years old. I don't have a high school diploma. I don't have money or a job or any idea what I'm doing. But I know one thing with absolute certainty. In the morning, I find Maria at the kitchen table with her coffee and a stack of fabric samples. She looks up when I come in her eyes, questioning. I'm going to have this baby, I say. Maria sets down her cup slowly. Are you sure there's no judgment either way, Jane? This is your choice to make. I'm sure. I won't let them erase this life the way they erased my mother's baby. I won't give them that power. It's going to be harder than you can imagine. Single motherhood at your age with no support system beyond me in this tiny apartment. I know, but I'm not doing it to be noble or to prove a point. I'm doing it because it's the right choice for me. I sit down across from her. I need to find work, real work that pays. Maria nods. I have some connections, people who might be willing to hire you without asking too many questions. But Jane, you need to understand what you're signing up for. Manual labor, long hours, exhaustion. You'll be working until the day you give birth. Then that's what I'll do. She reaches across the table, squeezes my hand. All right, let's get started. The next week is a blur of filling out applications and interviewing for jobs that don't require a diploma. Maria's friend Rosa manages a diner on the east side and agrees to hire me as a waitress. The pay is minimum wage plus tips, and the shifts are brutal, but I take it. I also find weekend work cleaning houses through a service that pays cash under the table. Within 2 weeks, I'm working 6 days a week, sometimes double shifts. I formally withdraw from Riverside High. The guidance counselor calls Maria's apartment concerned, asking if everything is all right at home. Maria tells her I'm dealing with family issues and pursuing my GED independently. The counselor sounds skeptical, but there's nothing she can do. I'm still a minor, but with Maria acting as my guardian and me voluntarily leaving, they can't force me back. The work is exactly as hard as Maria warned. My feet ache from standing all day. My back hurts from bending over tables and scrubbing floors. I come home each night so tired I can barely think. But every 2 weeks, I deposit my paycheck and my cash tips into a new bank account Maria helped me open. The balance grows slowly. $60, then $100, then $200. Maria teaches me things in the evenings. How to hem pants and mend torn seams so my work clothes last longer. How to make meals that cost almost nothing but fill you up. How to budget down to the last dollar. These are survival skills, she tells me. The things they don't teach you in school but you need to know to make it in this world. I also enroll in an online GED program. After my shifts, after helping Maria with her sewing work, I sit at her kitchen table with borrowed textbooks and work through practice tests. Math, science, history, English. My brain feels foggy from exhaustion, but I push through. I have to finish this. I have to prove I'm not the failure they think I am. At my first prenatal appointment at the free clinic, the nurse asks if I have family support. I tell her no. She gives me a look of pity that makes my skin crawl, but she also gives me pamphlets about WIC and food assistance and programs for teen mothers. I take them all. Pride won't feed a baby. That night I start a journal. Not for me, but for the baby. I write on the first page in careful letters, you will know how your mother fought. You will know that you were wanted, that you were worth fighting for, that love isn't about where you come from, but what you're willing to do for the people who matter. The weeks turn into months. September becomes October. My stomach grows rounder. I have to buy bigger work uniforms. Some of the regular customers at the diner notice and start leaving bigger tips. An older woman named Mrs. Walker, who comes in every Tuesday morning, starts asking about me, making sure I'm eating enough, telling me to sit down during slow periods. One night in late October, I'm lying on the sofa bed feeling the baby move for the first time. It's strange and wonderful and terrifying all at once. Little flutters under my ribs like butterfly wings. I place my hand over the spot and close my eyes. "You will be proof of strength," I whisper. "Not the shame they claim you are. You will be evidence that I survived, that we survived. One day they will see how wrong they were about us." I hear a soft sound from the doorway. Maria is standing there in her bathrobe watching me. I don't know how long she's been there. "Talking to the baby," she asks gently, making promises. She comes and sits on the edge of the sofa bed. "Jane, I understand the anger. I lived with it for years. But be careful that vengeance doesn't become your goal. Proving them wrong is fine. But don't let your whole life become about them. Don't give them that much power. I'm doing this for me, for this baby." "Good. Because revenge is cold comfort. Living well, building something real, that's what matters. That's the real way to win." I nod, but part of me holds on to the anger anyway. Holds on to the image of my parents' faces when they see me thriving despite everything they did. When they see this baby they wanted erased growing up healthy and loved. When they realize they were wrong about everything. Maria stands, kisses the top of my head. "Get some sleep. Early shift tomorrow." 3 months pass. It's January now, and I'm visibly pregnant. I've taken the GED exam and passed. The certificate arrives in the mail, and I hang it on Maria's refrigerator with a magnet. One goal accomplished. 1,000 more to go. I'm working the lunch rush at the diner when I see her through the window. A black sedan parked across the street. The driver's side window is down just enough that I can see her face. Lydia. She's wearing sunglasses, but I know it's her. Same blonde hair, same profile. She's just sitting there watching the diner. Watching me. Our eyes meet through the window. For a moment, neither of us moves. Then she quickly rolls up her window and drives away, tires squealing slightly as she accelerates. I stand frozen with a coffee pot in my hand. Mrs. Walker at table 4 asks if I'm all right, and I realize I'm shaking. "I'm fine," I say automatically. But I'm not fine. Because now I know. My family hasn't forgotten about me. They're watching, keeping tabs, making sure I stay away, stay silent, stay erased. And if they're watching, that means they're still afraid, which means I have more power than I thought. After seeing Lydia in that car, I become hypervigilant. Every sedan that passes the diner makes me tense. Every customer who stares a little too long makes me wonder if they're reporting back to my parents. But days pass, and nothing happens. No confrontation, no threats. Just the knowledge that I'm being watched, which somehow feels worse than direct action. Mrs. Walker comes in on Tuesday morning like clockwork, as she has every week since I started working here. She's a small woman with silver hair cut short and practical, always dressed in slacks and a cardigan. She orders the same thing every time: black coffee, wheat toast, 1 scrambled egg. She sits at table 4 by the window and reads the newspaper while she eats. Today she folds the paper and watches me as I refill her coffee. I'm 6 months along now, my belly impossible to hide even under the loose uniform shirt. "How old are you, Jane?" she asks suddenly. I hesitate. Most customers don't ask personal questions. 16. 16. And still working full-time, still showing up every Tuesday morning with a smile. She taps her finger on the table. "You're stronger than I thought." I don't have much choice. There's always a choice. You could have given up, run away, made easier decisions. She takes a sip of coffee. "Maria Castellano is your guardian, isn't she?" The question catches me off guard. "How do you know Maria?" We were neighbors about 10 years ago before I moved to the suburbs. She used to hem my dresses. Good woman. Stubborn as hell, but good. Mrs. Walker smiles slightly. She told me about you. Not the details, just that her niece was staying with her and needed work. I've been watching you these past months. You're reliable. You're smart. You don't complain. Thank you. I say, unsure where this is going. I owned an accounting and consulting business for 30 years before I retired. Sold it 5 years ago for a comfortable sum. But I still keep my hand and do some freelance work for old clients who don't trust anyone else with their books. She pauses. I could use an assistant, someone to help with filing data entry, answering phones, basic office work. Would you be interested? I already work 6 days a week. I'm not talking about replacing this job. I'm talking about adding to it. 3 evenings a week, let's say Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 6 to 9. I'll pay you $15 an hour, which is better than what you're making here. I do the math quickly in my head. That's an extra $135 a week, over $500 a month. What's the catch? No catch. Well, one condition. While you work for me, I teach you. Not just how to file and type, but real skills. Business management, accounting principles, contract law, financial planning, things that will actually be useful to you. Why would you do that? Mrs. Walker leans back in her chair. Because 30 years ago, I was a secretary at a law firm. The partners were all men. They treated me like furniture. One of them, the senior partner, saw something in me. He started teaching me about the business side of law, how to read financial statements, how to negotiate contracts, how to spot opportunities. When I left that firm, I used what he taught me to start my own business. He gave me tools that changed my life. I'd like to pass that forward. This isn't charity. Absolutely not. I need the help. My eyes aren't what they used to be, and my old filing system is a disaster. You'll be working for what you earn. But yes, I'll also be teaching you. Consider it an apprenticeship. I think about what Maria said, about building something real, about not letting my whole life become about proving my parents wrong. This could be that, a real foundation. When can I start? Next Monday. I'll give Maria my address, 6 o'clock sharp. Mrs. Walker's house is a modest ranch on a quiet street lined with oak trees. The spare bedroom has been converted into an office, and it's exactly as she described, a disaster. Filing cabinets overflowing with papers, boxes stacked in corners, a desk buried under folders. We'll start with organization, she says. But first let me show you the system. She walks me through her client files, explaining how she categorizes everything. Tax documents here, correspondence here, invoices and receipts here. It seems overwhelming at first, but as she talks, patterns emerge. There's logic to it. After an hour of filing, she sits me down at the desk with a laptop. Let's talk about what you're really learning here. This isn't just about putting papers in folders. It's about understanding how money moves, how businesses work, how people build wealth and protect it. She opens a spreadsheet. This is a basic income statement. See these columns: revenue, expenses, net income. Simple concept, but most people never learn to read one. You're going to learn. For the next 2 hours, she walks me through financial statements for one of her clients, a small restaurant. She shows me how to spot problems, how to see when a business is spending too much on supplies or not charging enough for services, how to track cash flow. My head is spinning by the time 9 o'clock comes, but it's a good spinning, like my brain is waking up after being asleep. Same time Wednesday, Mrs. Walker says as I'm leaving. And Jane, bring your GED study materials. We'll work on that too. Over the next months, a routine develops. Diner shifts during the day. Mrs. Walker's office 3 evenings a week. Studying late into the night at Maria's apartment. My life becomes work and learning, learning and work. My belly grows. My back aches. But something else is growing too. Knowledge. Capability. The sense that I'm building toward something. Mrs. Walker teaches me about profit margins and break-even analysis, about how to read contracts and spot unfair terms, about labor laws and workers' rights. She makes me practice creating budgets and projecting expenses. She shows me how businesses fail and how they succeed. "You have a good head for this," she tells me one evening. "You see patterns quickly, ask smart questions. That's rare." "I want to own my own business someday," I admit. "I want to be successful enough that no one can ever control me again." "Then you will be. But success isn't just about money, Jane. It's about security, independence, options, the ability to make choices on your own terms." She closes the ledger we've been reviewing. "Your family tried to take that from you. Don't let them. Don't let anyone." In April, I take the GED exam at the community college. I've been studying for months, working through practice tests with Mrs. Walker's help. When the results come back 3 weeks later, I've passed. Not just passed, but scored in the 90th percentile. Maria frames the certificate and hangs it in the living room. "First step," she says. "First of many." I agree. It's a Friday evening in late April when I finish up at Mrs. Walker's house. The sun is setting, painting the sky orange and pink. I'm 7 months pregnant now, moving slowly, one hand always on my lower back. I walk down her driveway toward the bus stop 2 blocks away. A car pulls up beside me, dark blue sedan. The window rolls down and my entire body goes cold. Connor, Mark, my ex-boyfriend who disappeared when I needed him most. He looks older somehow, though it's only been a year. His hair is cut shorter. He's wearing a button-down shirt like he has somewhere important to be. "Jane," he says, "we need to talk." "I have nothing to say to you." "Your father sent me." The words stop me in my tracks. I turn to face him fully. "What did you just say?" "Your father. He contacted me last week, asked me to deliver a message." Mark's expression is careful, calculated. There's no guilt in his eyes, no remorse, just cold purpose. "Get in the car. Let's talk somewhere private." "I'm not getting in any car with you." "Then I'll say it here. He's willing to make you an offer, a better offer than last time. He wants this handled before the baby comes. He's prepared to be very generous." I look at Mark, really look at him, and suddenly I understand. This isn't about him wanting to reconnect or take responsibility. This is a transaction. My father is using him as a messenger because he doesn't want to dirty his own hands. "Tell my father," I say slowly, clearly, "that I'm not interested in any offers. Tell him I'm keeping my baby. And tell him that if he sends you or anyone else near me again, I'll file a restraining order." Mark's expression hardens. "You're making a mistake." "The only mistake I made was trusting you." I turn and start walking away. "He won't stop, Jane," Mark calls after me. "He'll keep trying until you cooperate. You can't win against him." I don't look back, but my hands are shaking as I wait for the bus, and I can't stop thinking about those words. He won't stop. I don't sleep that night. I lie on Maria's sofa bed replaying Mark's words over and over. "Your father sent me. He won't stop." My hand rests protectively on my belly, feeling the baby move beneath my palm. Every kick reminds me what's at stake. The next morning at the diner, I'm pouring coffee on autopilot when Mark walks in. He takes a seat at the counter right in front of my station. The other waitress, Rosa, gives me a questioning look, but I shake my head. "I can handle this." "What do you want?" I ask, not bothering to get out my order pad. "Just coffee, and 5 minutes of your time." He folds his hands on the counter. "Look, I know you're angry. You have every right to be. The way I handled things last year was cowardly. You blocked my number and pretended I didn't exist. I was 17 and scared, but I've grown up since then. I want to do the right thing now." "The right thing, or the thing my father is paying you to do." Mark's jaw tightens. "He contacted me 3 weeks ago, found me through my parents somehow, offered me $5,000 to convince you to put the baby up for adoption. I told him no." But then I started thinking maybe he had a point. You're 16, Jane. You're working yourself to death. You're living in your aunt's tiny apartment. Is that really the life you want for a kid? That's not your decision to make. Actually, it is. Legally, I'm the father. I have rights. Something cold settles in my chest. Are you threatening me? I'm saying maybe we should consider all options. Adoption could give this baby a real home. 2 parents, stability, resources. You mean it would solve your problem and make my father happy? I mean, it might be what's best for everyone. He leans forward. But if you won't consider it voluntarily, I have other options. I could file for custody, prove you're an unfit mother, a 16-year-old dropout working 2 jobs, no permanent address, no family support. The coffee pot in my hand is shaking. You abandoned this baby before it was even born. You don't get to play concerned father now. Prove it. Prove I abandoned you. I have the text messages. I have the call logs showing you blocked my number. I have witnesses who saw you ignore me at school. Mark's expression shifts. He clearly didn't expect that. Those could be taken out of context. Try me. Take me to court. See what happens when the judge hears how you disappeared the moment I told you I was pregnant. How you're only back now because my father is manipulating you. I set the coffee pot down before I drop it. You're not the father this baby needs. You're just another person who sees this child as a problem to be solved. Jane, get out, and don't come back. He stands slowly. For a moment, I think he's going to argue, but something in my face must convince him otherwise. He leaves a $5 bill on the counter and walks out. I watch him through the window as he gets into his car. He sits there for a minute, phone to his ear, probably reporting back to my father. Probably explaining that the mission failed. 3 days later, I'm folding laundry at Maria's apartment when she comes home from the fabric store looking shaken. She sets down her shopping bags and sits heavily at the kitchen table. I ran into Patricia Davies today, she says. Do you remember her? She used to live in my old building. She was at Lydia's wedding. We got to talking and... Maria trails off, her face troubled. What did she say? She told me something I wish I didn't know, about your sister. Maria looks up at me. Patricia was at your parents' house the week before the wedding. She was helping your mother with some decorations. She overheard your parents talking about you, about their plan to announce your pregnancy at the reception. My hands stop moving. Lydia knew. Patricia said Lydia was there. She heard your sister begging them not to do it at the wedding, asking them to wait until afterward. Your mother refused, said it had to be done publicly or it wouldn't have the right impact. The laundry basket slips from my hands. Clothes scatter across the floor. She knew. She knew what they were going to do to me and she said nothing. She tried to stop them, Jane. She asked them to wait. But she didn't warn me. Didn't tell me to leave. Didn't stand up for me when it happened. My voice is rising. She chose her perfect wedding over protecting her sister. She let them destroy me in front of 200 people, so her special day wouldn't be ruined. I know. I'm sorry. I sink down onto the couch. It's one thing to know my parents chose reputation over their daughter. But Lydia, my sister, the person who braided my hair when I was little and taught me how to put on makeup and promised she'd always look out for me. Maria, she stood there in her white dress and watched them call me trash, watched them throw me out, and she said nothing. She did nothing. Lydia is also a victim of them, Maria says quietly. She's been shaped by the same toxic values, the same fear of disappointing them. But that doesn't excuse her choice. She could have been brave. She chose to be complicit instead. I'll never forgive her. Never. Even as I say it, a small part of me is waiting for the phone to ring, for a letter to arrive, for Lydia to show up at the door and say she's sorry that she was wrong, that she wants to help now. But days pass and nothing comes. Just that one sighting in the car watching me from a distance. Even her guilt is passive. Even her regret doesn't require her to actually do anything. That night I wake to voices. It takes me a moment to orient myself in the darkness of Maria's living room. The clock on the wall shows 2:30 in the morning. Maria is in the kitchen and she's on the phone. "Are you threatening me?" Her voice is shaking but fierce. "Because I won't be intimidated. Not by you, not by anyone." I sit up quietly, straining to hear. "She's my niece. She's family. And unlike you, I actually understand what that word means." A pause. "I don't care what you think is best for your reputation. I care about that girl and her baby." Another pause, longer this time. "Fine. Do what you have to do. But I won't stay silent anymore. I won't let you erase her the way you erased your wife's past." She hangs up with enough force that I hear the phone clatter. Then she turns and sees me standing in the doorway. "Jane, I didn't mean to wake you." "Who was that?" Maria's face is pale in the dim light from the kitchen. "Your father. He knows where we are. He's been having us watched probably for weeks. He called to warn me that helping you is a mistake, that there will be consequences if I don't convince you to give up the baby." "What kind of consequences?" "He didn't say exactly. But Jane, your father has resources, connections. He's a lawyer with powerful friends. If he wants to make our lives difficult, he can. We should call the police and tell them what that he called and made vague threats. They won't do anything without concrete evidence." Maria comes over, sits beside me on the couch. "We need to be careful, very careful. Your father is scared that you'll talk. Scared that people will find out about your mother's abortion, about the family's secrets. Scared people are dangerous, Jane. They do things they wouldn't normally do. So what do? We stay alert. We document everything. And we prepare for him to escalate." Maria takes my hand. "But we don't back down. We don't let him win. You're going to have this baby. You're going to build a life. And I'm going to help you no matter what he threatens." I squeeze her hand, grateful and terrified in equal measure. My father is coming for us. My sister knew and did nothing. Mark is being used as a pawn. Everyone who should have protected me has failed. But I'm not alone. Maria is here. Mrs. Walker is teaching me. And inside me, a life is growing that depends on me to be strong. So I will be. The weeks after Maria's late-night phone call pass in a strange suspension. We're both waiting for something to happen, but nothing does. No more threats. No visits from Mark. Just an oppressive sense of being watched that I can't shake. My belly grows heavier. My ankles swell. I have to stop working double shifts at the diner because I can barely stand for 8 hours anymore. Then on a Tuesday morning in June, my water breaks while I'm stacking dishes in the kitchen. Maria drives me to County General, the public hospital on the south side. The labor is long and brutal. 14 hours of pain that makes me understand why women used to die in childbirth. Maria holds my hand through all of it, wipes my forehead with a cool cloth, tells me I'm doing well even when I'm screaming that I can't do this anymore. At 3:17 in the morning, my son is born. 6 pounds, 4 ounces, tiny and red and perfect. They place him on my chest, and he looks up at me with dark, unfocused eyes. His little fist closes around my finger. "What's his name?" the nurse asks, pen poised over the birth certificate. I look at this tiny person who exists because I refuse to let anyone erase him, who survived despite everything my family tried to do. "Daniel," I say. "His name is Daniel." "That's a strong name. Does it mean something special?" "It means God is my judge." I kiss the top of his head, breathing in his new baby smell. "If family won't be fair to you, then God will be." The nurse gives me a look I can't quite interpret, but she writes it down. Daniel Mitchell. No father listed. Just me. We come home to Maria's apartment 3 days later. She's transformed the living room, set up a bassinet beside the sofa bed, stocked the kitchen with formula and diapers, and all the supplies we'll need. I cry when I see it, overwhelmed by her kindness. "You didn't have to do all this." "Yes, I did. Your family. This is what family does. The first weeks are a blur of sleeplessness and learning. Daniel wakes every 2 hours to nurse. My body aches from the birth. I'm constantly exhausted, constantly worried I'm doing everything wrong. Maria helps when she can, but she has her own work, her own life. This is my responsibility. I go back to work at the diner when Daniel is 6 weeks old. I have no choice. My savings are almost gone, and the medical bills keep coming. Rosa lets me bring Daniel with me during slow afternoon shifts, and he sleeps in a car seat by the register while I wait tables. Mrs. Walker insists I keep working for her, too, says I can bring the baby to her house, and she'll watch him while I file and learn. People stare. At the diner in the grocery store, walking down the street with Daniel in a second-hand stroller. Some looks are sympathetic. Most are judgmental. I overhear a woman in the produce section tell her friend, "That's what happens when teenage girls don't have proper supervision." A man at the diner asks Rosa if she really thinks it's appropriate to have that situation around food service. I learn to ignore it. Learn to hold my head up and meet their stares with blank indifference. What they think doesn't matter. Only Daniel matters. At night after he's asleep, I write in a journal I bought at the dollar store. I write everything down. The wedding, the humiliation, Maria's kindness, Mark's betrayal, Lydia's silence. I write it all so that someday when Daniel is old enough, he'll know the truth. He'll know he was wanted, that his mother fought for him, that love isn't about where you come from, but what you're willing to sacrifice. Sometimes I cry while I write. Quiet tears that I never let fall when Daniel is awake. He doesn't need to see my pain. He needs to see strength. On a Thursday morning in September when Daniel is 3 months old, I wake up to silence. The apartment is too quiet. I sit up on the sofa bed listening. Usually I hear Maria moving around in her room by 7, the sound of her shower running or her sewing machine starting up. Nothing. I pick up Daniel from his bassinet and knock on Maria's door. "Maria, are you awake?" No answer. I try the handle. The door opens. Her bed is made. She's not there. Maybe she went out early, I tell myself. To the fabric store or the post office. But her purse is on the kitchen counter. Her keys are on the hook by the door. Her phone is plugged in by the toaster. Hours pass. I call her cell and it rings from the counter. I call the fabric store and they haven't seen her. I feed Daniel, change him, try to stay calm. By noon, I'm panicking. I call the police. "She's been missing for 5 hours, the dispatcher says. "We need 48 hours before we can file a missing persons report." She would never just leave. Something's wrong. "Ma'am, I understand you're concerned, but most missing adults return on their own within a day or two. If she's not back by Saturday morning, call us again." I spend the next 2 days barely functioning. I can't eat, can't sleep except when Daniel sleeps. I call hospitals. I walk the neighborhood asking if anyone has seen her. No one has. Saturday morning at 9 o'clock, 2 police officers knock on the door. Their faces tell me everything before they speak. "Are you Jane Mitchell?" "Yes." "We need to talk to you about Maria Castellano." They tell me she was in a car accident. Single vehicle collision on Route 47 about 30 miles outside of town. Her car went off the road and hit a tree. She died instantly. They're very sorry for my loss. I stand there holding Daniel, trying to process the words. Maria is dead. The only person who stood by me. The only real family I had. Gone. The funeral is 4 days later. There's almost no one there. A few of Maria's sewing clients, Mrs. Walker, Rosa from the diner. That's it. No family. My father certainly doesn't come. Neither does Lydia. I stand at the graveside holding Daniel, watching the coffin being lowered into the ground. The priest says something about God's mercy and eternal rest, but I'm not listening. I'm looking at the copy of the death certificate the funeral home gave me. Route 47. Rural road, poorly maintained, prone to accidents. But Maria told me once she never drove that route. Said it was too dangerous, too winding. She always took Highway 12 when she went out of town, even though it added 15 minutes. So why was she on Route 47? I looked down at Daniel sleeping in my arms, then back at the grave. Maria warned me. Your father is scared. Scared people are dangerous. My hands start to tremble. This wasn't an accident. I can't let it go. The police closed the case within a week. Single vehicle accident, rainy conditions, driver error. They found no evidence of foul play, no signs of another vehicle, no witnesses. Just Maria's car wrapped around a tree on a road she swore she'd never drive. I spend Daniel's nap times searching online for anything about that stretch of Route 47. I find 3 other fatal accidents there in the past 5 years, all in bad weather. The road curves sharply and there's no guardrail. It's a known hazard. The local paper has articles calling for better safety measures. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Maria was taking a shortcut that day. Maybe I'm so paranoid from months of feeling watched that I'm seeing conspiracy where there's only tragedy. But I can't shake the memory of that phone call. Your father is scared. Scared people are dangerous. I go through Maria's belongings, slowly sorting what to keep and what to donate. In her closet, tucked behind boxes of fabric samples, I find a small stack of mail she never got around to filing. Bills mostly, a few catalogs, and a postcard. The image on the front is a California beach at sunset. I flip it over. No signature, no return address. Just a postmark from San Diego, dated 2 weeks before Maria died, and a single sentence in handwriting I don't recognize. Still here, still watching. Still, stay safe. I stared at that postcard for a long time. Who sent it? Why would someone in California be telling Maria to stay safe? I add it to the small pile of things I'm keeping questions multiplying in my mind. Maria's lawyer, a tired-looking man named Mr. Chen, calls me to his office 3 weeks after the funeral. He explains that Maria's will is simple. The apartment goes to me along with her savings account. It's not much, maybe $8,000, but it's more money than I've ever had. Enough to survive for a few months if I'm careful. There's one more thing, Mr. Chen says. He slides a cardboard box across his desk. Ms. Castellano left specific instructions that this box should go to you unopened. She updated her will 6 months ago to add this provision. The box is sealed with packing tape, my name written across the top in Maria's neat handwriting. Below it, 3 words, open when needed. I wait until Daniel is asleep that night before I open it. Inside are folders carefully organized and labeled. The first contains copies of old family letters, including the one my father wrote to Maria about my mother's abortion. The second has financial documents, bank statements, and receipts going back 20 years. The third is labeled Robert Mitchell, in Maria's handwriting. My father's name. I open that folder with shaking hands. Inside are photocopies of contracts, emails, printed out handwritten notes in Maria's writing. She's been documenting something, tracking something. There are notes about business deals that went wrong, about clients who filed complaints about money that moved in suspicious ways. At the bottom of the folder is a note on a yellow sticky, "He's not as careful as he thinks. The evidence is there if you know where to look." Maria was building a case against my father, and now she's dead. I close the box and hide it in the back of the closet behind winter coats. Not yet. I'm not ready yet. But someday, when I'm strong enough, when I have the resources and the knowledge, I'll use this. 2 months later, Mrs. Walker calls me into her office with an unusual request. I have a friend who runs a small law firm downtown, Sterling and Associates. They need a secretary, and I recommended you. Mrs. Walker, I don't know anything about working in a law office. You know more than you think. You understand financial documents. You can organize files. You're discreet and reliable. That's 90% of the job. She hands me a business card. The pay is better than the diner. $12 an hour full-time with benefits after 90 days. Jane, you can't waitress forever. This is a real opportunity. The interview is with Mr. Sterling himself, a man in his 60s with kind eyes and a rumpled suit. His office is cluttered with case files and law books. When I walk in with Daniel in a carrier, he doesn't bat an eye. "Mrs. Walker speaks very highly of you," he says. "But I have to ask, do you have childcare arranged?" "I'm working on it, sir. I have a neighbor who might be able to help during the day." "Good. We're a small operation here. Just me, 2 associates, and a paralegal. We need someone who can keep us organized, manage the phones, handle client intake. It's not glamorous work, but it's steady." He looks at me carefully. "I see you listed your full legal name on the application. Jane Catherine Mitchell. Do you go by Jane?" "Yes, sir." "Good. When can you start?" "I start the following Monday. The neighbor, Mrs. Chen, from down the hall, agrees to watch Daniel for $40 a week. It's more than I can easily afford, but I'll make it work. The firm is small and busy. Mr. Sterling handles personal injury cases, mostly with some family law and estate planning. The associates are young and overworked. My job is to keep the chaos organized, filing, phones, making sure documents get filed with the court on time. It's overwhelming at first, but I learn quickly. What I don't tell anyone is that I recognize one of the firm names in our client database. Henderson and Associates. My father's firm. They've collaborated with Sterling and Associates on several cases over the years. The files are old from before I was born, but seeing that familiar letterhead makes my stomach turn. I start paying attention to office gossip. The associates talk freely around me like I'm furniture. I learn which firms have good reputations and which ones cut corners. I learn about judges and their quirks. I learn how the legal world in this town really works. One afternoon in November, I'm organizing files in the storage room when I see it. A folder labeled Henderson and Associates, Audit Response 2024. I pull it out, hands shaking. Inside is correspondence about a state bar audit of my father's firm. Questions about client trust accounts, concerns about how certain settlements were handled. My father's response is defensive and evasive. I look around. No one is nearby. I take the file to the copy machine and photocopy every page, my heart hammering so hard, I'm surprised no one hears it. I slip the copies into my purse and return the original file to its place. That night, after Daniel is asleep, I add the copies to Maria's box in the closet. I read through them carefully, trying to understand the legal language. My father's firm is being investigated for financial irregularities, money that should have gone to clients but didn't, records that don't quite add up. I think about Maria's note. The evidence is there if you know where to look. I'm looking now, and I'm starting to see. This is it. This is how I start. Not with confrontation or drama, but with patience. With documentation, with learning how the system works so I can use it against him. One day when I'm ready, when Daniel is safe, when I have everything I need, my father will answer for what he's done. To me, to my mother, to Maria. But not yet. Not today. Today I'm just a 17-year-old secretary learning how to file depositions and answer phones. Nobody important. Nobody threatening. Exactly how I need to be. 10 years passed like a blur. I worked multiple jobs, earned my associate degree in business at night school, while Daniel slept and slowly built a career from secretary to paralegal to junior consultant. The days bled together in a haze of work and motherhood and study. Daniel grew from a crying baby into a remarkable 10-year-old with dark hair and curious eyes that miss nothing. The small apartment Maria left us became our home. I painted the walls a warm yellow, put up photos, made it feel less like the place where I landed after disaster and more like somewhere we chose to be. It's still tiny, still in a neighborhood my parents would never set foot in, but it's ours. Daniel excels at school in ways that both terrify and amaze me. His third-grade teacher, Mrs. Rodriguez, called me in for a conference last year to tell me he was reading at an 8th grade level. His 4th grade teacher this year says he's solving math problems meant for middle schoolers. They want to test him for the gifted program. He's exceptional, Mrs. Rodriguez told me. Not just intelligent, but curious. He asks questions that show real depth of thinking. Where does he get it from? I didn't know how to answer that. Not from me, certainly. I barely graduated high school through a GED program. Maybe from his father, though. Connor never struck me as particularly brilliant. Maybe it's just Daniel being himself, despite everything stacked against him. The gifted program means transferring to Lincoln Elementary across town, a better school with more resources. It also means higher fees for supplies and activities. I take on extra freelance bookkeeping work, stay up until 2 a.m. balancing spreadsheets for small businesses Mrs. Walker connects me with. Whatever it takes. Daniel will have opportunities I never had. He never complains, never asks for expensive toys or brand-name clothes. He wears hand-me-downs from the donation bin at church and seems genuinely happy with library books for his birthday. Sometimes I catch him doing his homework at the kitchen table while I'm cooking dinner, and he'll look up at me with this serious expression and ask if I'm okay if I need help with anything. "I'm supposed to take care of you," I tell him, not the other way around. "We take care of each other," he says simply. "That's what families do." The bullying starts in October. I notice he's quieter than usual, eating his after-school snack without the running commentary about his day that I've come to expect. When I ask what's wrong, he shakes his head. "Nothing, Mom. Just tired." But the next week, I get a call from the school counselor. There was an incident at lunch. Some fifth graders cornered Daniel by the water fountain asking questions about his family. When he tried to walk away, one of them shoved him. I leave work early and find Daniel in the counselor's office, his face blotchy from crying. The sight of it breaks something in me. I've worked so hard to shield him from the consequences of my choices, but here they are anyway, following him to school. In the car, he finally tells me everything. The questions started a few weeks ago. "Where's your dad? Why don't you have grandparents?" One kid heard his mom call me a teen mom, and now everyone knows. They say he's a mistake, say his mom was trash. The words they use sound too much like my mother's voice. That night, I sit with him on his bed, the one I bought at a yard sale, and refinished myself. "Daniel, look at me. Sometimes family isn't about blood. It's about who shows up, who stays, who loves you no matter what." I take his small hand in mine. "You and I are family. We're enough. But why don't I have a dad? Why don't I have grandparents?" I've prepared for this question for 10 years, but I still don't have a good answer. Your grandparents made choices that hurt people. They chose their reputation over their family. Your father was young and scared and made bad choices too. But you know what? Their mistakes don't define you. You're not responsible for what they did or didn't do. Do you miss them? Your mom and dad. The question catches me off guard. Do I miss them? I miss the idea of them. The parents I thought I had before everything fell apart. But the real people who called me trash and threw me out. Sometimes I miss what I thought we had, but I don't miss the people they actually are. What if they want to meet me someday? Then we'll deal with that when it happens. But Daniel, listen to me. Stay silent and strong. Don't let those kids see that they're hurting you. One day the truth will be told. One day everyone will know that you're not a mistake. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. He hugs me tightly, his face pressed against my shoulder. I love you, Mom. I love you too, buddy. More than anything. Over the next months, I try to teach him what Maria taught me. That wounded people wound others. That cruelty often comes from pain. That the cycle only breaks when someone chooses differently. I don't teach him to hate his grandparents or his father. I teach him about fairness and justice, and the difference between revenge and living well. Mom was treated unfairly. I tell him one evening while we're doing dishes together. Your grandparents were cruel to me, but I won't take revenge by becoming cruel myself. I won't hurt people the way I was hurt. Instead, I'm going to prove them wrong by building a good life, by being a good mother, by showing that their judgment of me was wrong. Don't you want them to say they're sorry? Of course I do. But I've learned not to wait for apologies that will never come. I'm building my own life instead. That's really brave, Mom. It's not brave, it's just survival. He's quiet for a moment, drying a plate carefully. Then, do you ever want to see them again, Grandma and Grandpa? The question stops me cold. Do I want to see them again? I think about my mother's face as she pointed to the door. My father's silence. Lydia's whispered apology that meant nothing. I think about Maria's suspicious death and the documents hidden in my closet that suggest my father might be a criminal. I don't know, I finally say. It's the most honest answer I can give. Maybe someday, but not until I'm strong enough that they can't hurt me anymore. Daniel nods like this makes perfect sense to him. At 10 years old, he understands complicated truths that most adults can't handle. He's going to be something special. I can feel it. That evening after Daniel is asleep, my phone rings. Unknown number? Aknonan. I almost don't answer, but something makes me pick up. Is this Jane Mitchell? A woman's voice, professional and crisp. Yes. Who's calling? My name is Margaret Chen. I'm a partner at Chen & Associates, a business consulting firm. We've been following your work with Sterling Legal and through your freelance bookkeeping. Your name keeps coming up in our network as someone with excellent analytical skills and strong business acumen. I sit down slowly on the couch. I'm not sure what you mean. Ms. Mitchell, we're expanding our practice and looking for a third partner. Someone hungry, smart, willing to work hard. We've done our research. You're 26 years old with an associate degree working your way toward a bachelor's. You've built a reputation for reliability and discretion. You understand both law and business. We'd like to offer you an opportunity. My hands are shaking. What kind of opportunity? A partnership. Equal shares, equal say. It's a risk, but we think you're worth it. Can we meet next week to discuss details? I look around Maria's tiny apartment, at Daniel's backpack by the door, at the stack of bills on the kitchen counter, at the life I've built from nothing. This is it. The opportunity I've been working toward for 15 years. Yes, I say. Let's meet. The partnership with Margaret Chen and her colleague David Torres changes everything. We call the firm MCT Consulting, and for the first 3 years we work harder than I've ever worked in my life. Margaret handles client relations, David manages operations, and I do what I do best: analyze financial systems and find the inefficiencies, the risks, the opportunities others miss. We start with small businesses, the kind that can't afford the big firms. A family restaurant worried about cash flow. A boutique owner trying to understand why her profits are shrinking. A contractor who needs help bidding on municipal projects. Word spreads. We're thorough. We're honest. We don't overcharge. By the time Daniel turns 13, we've outgrown our small office and moved into a proper suite downtown. We hire our first employees, then our second and third. I finally finish my bachelor's degree in business management, taking classes online late at night after Daniel goes to bed. The diploma hangs on my office wall next to my associate degree and my GED certificate. A timeline of survival. Daniel is proud of me in that quiet way of his. He's 13 now, tall and lanky with my dark hair and a seriousness that makes him seem older than he is. He still gets straight A's, still reads books about physics and philosophy that I can barely understand. On weekends he comes to the office and does homework in the conference room while I catch up on client files. Sometimes I look up and catch him watching me work, and I wonder what he's thinking. If he's proud. If he understands what all this is for. The bid request comes in on a Tuesday morning. Margaret drops the folder on my desk with a grin. Big one. Municipal contract for financial consulting services. The city wants someone to review department budgets and recommend efficiency improvements. Could be worth $200,000 if we get it. I flip through the requirements. It's exactly the kind of work we've been building toward. Complex enough to be challenging, visible enough to raise our profile, profitable enough to let us expand. Who else is bidding? I ask. Margaret rattles off 3 names. The last one makes my coffee cup freeze halfway to my lips. Henderson and Associates, the law firm. They do consulting on the side, financial advising, contract review, that kind of thing. Why? I set down the cup carefully. Henderson and Associates, my father's firm, the place where I filed papers as a 17-year-old secretary learning the business while hiding in plain sight. I haven't thought about them in years, haven't let myself think about them, but here they are competing for the same contract. No reason, I lie, just surprised they're branching into municipal consulting. That night, I pull out Maria's box from the back of my closet where it's been sitting for 13 years. The documents inside are yellowed now, but the information is still good. Notes about my father's questionable business practices. Copies of complaints that were quietly settled. Evidence of the financial irregularities that Sterling and Associates was investigating all those years ago. I've added to it over the years clipping news articles about Henderson and Associates tracking their cases, watching from a distance. My father's firm is struggling. I can see it in the public records, in the court filings, in the kinds of cases they're taking now. Desperate cases. Small cases. Not the prestigious work they used to do. He's 60 now, semi-retired according to the firm website, but still listed as senior partner. Still running things from behind the scenes. I could let this go. Could focus on winning the bid on merit and ignore the fact that my father's firm is competing. But something Maria said to me years ago keeps echoing in my head. Living well is the real revenge. What if living well includes beating him at his own game? I spend the next 2 weeks building the perfect proposal. Margaret and David contribute their sections, but the financial analysis is all mine. I know exactly what the city needs, because I've studied their budgets, attended public meetings, read through years of audit reports. I know where they're overspending and where they're leaving money on the table. I know how to save them millions without cutting essential services. I also know my father's weaknesses. He's old school. He relies on relationships and reputation instead of innovation. His proposals are always solid but never creative. He'll offer competence, but we're offering transformation. When we submit the bid, I use my full legal name on all the documents. Jane Catherine Mitchell, partner, MCT Consulting. Not the nickname he would recognize. Not the broken 16-year-old he threw away. Just another businesswoman competing for a contract. 3 weeks later, Margaret gets the call. We won. The celebration in the office is loud and happy. David opens champagne. Our employees cheer. Margaret hugs me and says, "This is the breakthrough we needed, the proof that we can compete with the established firms." I smile and thank everyone and pretend this is just about business. But that night alone in my apartment after Daniel has gone to bed, I sit at my kitchen table and let myself feel it. I beat him. Not with tricks or sabotage, but by being better. By building something real and earning this victory fairly. It should feel triumphant. Instead, it feels like the beginning of something I can't take back. My phone buzzes with an email notification just after midnight. Unknown sender. No subject line. I almost delete it, but curiosity wins. The email is brief. Ms. Mitchell, you don't know me, but we have a mutual interest in seeing justice served. Your parents are desperate. Their firm is on the verge of collapse. Robert Mitchell made some very poor investments last year, and the consequences are coming due. If you want revenge, now is the time. Attached, you'll find documentation of their financial situation. Use it wisely. I stare at the screen for a long moment before opening the attachment. It's a detailed financial report. Assets, liabilities, cash flow projections. My father's firm is worse off than I thought. They're 3 months from bankruptcy. The building they own is mortgaged to the limit. Their biggest clients have left. They're drowning. And someone wants me to know about it. I don't recognize the email address. Don't know who sent this or why. But as I read through the documents, my hands start shaking. This isn't just business intelligence. This is ammunition. The kind that could destroy what's left of my father's legacy. All I have to do is use it. I spend 3 days analyzing the financial documents from that anonymous email. The real estate project is called Riverside Commons, a mixed-use development on the east side that's been in the works for 2 years. My father's firm isn't just consulting on it, they're heavily invested. He put in personal money, convinced several clients to invest, and used the firm's building as collateral for additional loans. It's the kind of all-in bet that either saves you or destroys you. The project should work on paper. Prime location near the new light rail station. Residential units, retail space, offices. The developer, a company called North Star Properties, has a decent track record. But as I dig deeper into the documents, I start to see the cracks. The environmental impact study was rushed. The soil reports show contamination that wasn't properly disclosed. The projected rental rates are based on market data from before the recession hit our area. And most damning, North Star's financing is dependent on a major anchor tenant that just filed for bankruptcy protection last month. This project is going to fail. The only question is when. I could warn him. Could send an anonymous tip suggesting he get out before it collapses. That would be the merciful thing to do. But mercy isn't what I'm feeling right now. Instead, I do my research. I pull permits and environmental reports from public records. I find the bankruptcy filing for the anchor tenant. I compile everything into a clear, factual summary, and I send it to 3 people. A business reporter at the local newspaper, a blogger who covers real estate development, and an investigative journalist who's been writing about questionable development deals in our region. I don't editorialize. Don't accuse anyone of anything. Just provide the facts and let them draw their own conclusions. The first article appears 4 days later. Questions surround Riverside Commons development. It's careful measured, but it lays out all the problems. Environmental concerns, shaky financing, the missing anchor tenant. Within hours, the story is picked up by other outlets. By the end of the week, 3 major investors have pulled out of the project. North Star Properties issues a statement saying they're reevaluating the timeline. My father's firm issues no statement at all. I watch it unfold from my office downtown. Margaret asks if I've seen the news about Riverside Commons, says it's lucky we didn't have any clients invested in it. I nod and say nothing. The collapse accelerates faster than I expected. Within 2 weeks, North Star formally suspends the project. The investors who can't get out start looking for someone to blame. My father's firm, which provided legal counsel and encouraged client investment, becomes the obvious target. 3 clients file complaints with the state bar. 2 threaten lawsuits. The local business journal runs a profile titled The Fall of Henderson and Associates. It traces the firm's decline from regional powerhouse to struggling practice. The article mentions my father by name, quotes former clients expressing disappointment, includes a photo of him looking old and tired outside the courthouse. I read that article 3 times, study his face in the photo. He looks smaller than I remember, diminished. This should feel satisfying, but mostly I just feel hollow. The scandal spreads beyond just the firm. I learned through the business grapevine that Lydia's husband Marcus had invested heavily in Riverside Commons through his financial planning practice. Their marriage is reportedly under strain. There are rumors they're separating. The perfect wedding, the perfect life, all crumbling. Daniel notices I'm distracted. He's 13 now, perceptive in ways that sometimes unnerve me. One evening while we're making dinner together, he asks, "Are you doing something, Mom?" I pause in the middle of chopping vegetables. "What do you mean?" "You've been following the news really closely. That law firm that's in trouble. You seem really interested in it." "It's just interesting from a business perspective, seeing how companies fail." He looks at me with those serious dark eyes. "Is it the law firm from your family, the one you used to talk about?" I should have known he'd figure it out. He's too smart, pays too much attention. "Yes." "But are you making it happen? The bad things happening to them?" "No. It's technically true. I didn't cause the real estate project to be built on contaminated soil. Didn't cause the anchor tenant to go bankrupt. Didn't cause my father to make risky investments. I'm just letting the truth speak for itself. Sometimes that's all it takes." He nods slowly, processing this. "Is it making you happy? Watching them fail?" The question stops me. Is it making me happy? I don't know, buddy. I thought it would. But it's more complicated than that. Mom, I know they hurt you. Really badly. But you taught me that revenge isn't the answer. That we prove people wrong by living well. I know I did. And I meant it. But sometimes, I trail off, not sure how to explain this to a 13-year-old. How do I tell him that some wounds don't heal just because you build a good life? That sometimes you need to see justice even if it looks like revenge? Sometimes living well means making sure people face consequences for what they did. Not to hurt them back, but because it's fair. Because they shouldn't get to destroy lives and walk away like nothing happened. Daniel thinks about this while I finish chopping vegetables. Finally, he says, "Okay, but promise me you'll be careful. Promise you won't turn into them." I promise. I mean it when I say it, but I'm not sure I can keep that promise. 3 weeks after the Riverside Commons story breaks, I get a call on my office line. A lawyer named Patricia Vance, representing Henderson and Associates. Her voice is professional and tired. "Ms. Mitchell, I'm reaching out on behalf of Robert Henderson and his partners. As you may know, the firm is facing significant financial difficulties related to the Riverside Commons development. Mr. Henderson has requested mediation with all parties who have business relationships or competitive interests with the firm. As someone who recently competed against Henderson and Associates for the municipal consulting contract, you're invited to attend." Why would he want me there? He's trying to restructure the firm's obligations and wants input from the business community. It's an unusual approach, but he's hoping to avoid bankruptcy if possible. She pauses. "The mediation is next Thursday at 2 o'clock. Will you attend?" I lean back in my chair, heart pounding. This is it. The chance to face him, to sit across a table from my father for the first time in 13 years. And he has no idea who I am. "Yes," I say. "I'll be there." The mediation is scheduled for Thursday, but on Tuesday morning, a different envelope arrives at my office. Cream-colored paper, expensive. My home address handwritten in elegant script. No return address. Inside is a wedding invitation. Lydia Margaret Mitchell and Dr. James Chen request the honor of my presence at their wedding. The ceremony will be held at St. Mary's Church reception to follow at the Riverside Country Club. 150 guests expected. My hands shake as I read it. Lydia is getting married again. I knew she'd divorced Marcus 3 years ago after the Riverside Commons scandal destroyed his business, but I didn't know she'd moved on. Didn't know she was rebuilding her life while I was systematically dismantling our parents' empire. There's a small card tucked inside the invitation, folded once. I open it to find 3 words in handwriting I haven't seen in 15 years, but would recognize anywhere. "I'm sorry. Please come. L." I sit at my desk staring at those words until Margaret knocks on my door to ask about a client meeting. I shove the invitation in my drawer and try to focus on work, but all day I keep thinking about it. Why would Lydia invite me? What game is she playing? That evening, I show Daniel the invitation. He's doing homework at the kitchen table, working through algebra problems that look impossibly complex to me. "Your aunt is getting married," I say, sliding the card across to him. He reads it carefully. "Are you going to go?" "I don't know. It might be a trap, or she might be trying to humiliate me again. Or maybe she really is sorry." Daniel looks up at me with those serious eyes. "Mom, you should go. Let them see you've overcome. Let them see what they lost when they threw you away." "What if they try to throw me out again? Then you walk out with your head high just like you did before. But maybe that won't happen. Maybe it's time for people to see the truth." I think about the mediation scheduled for Thursday, about sitting across from my father while he still doesn't know who I am, about the moment when I'll have to reveal myself, when the mask will come off. Maybe Daniel is right. Maybe it's time. I buy a new dress. Simple, elegant black. Not morning black, but power black. The kind of dress that says, "I've arrived, I've succeeded. I'm not the broken girl you remember." I take Daniel shopping, and we find him a suit that makes him look older than 13, more like a young man. On Saturday afternoon, we drive to St. Mary's Church, the same church where Lydia married Marcus 15 years ago, where I stood in a too-tight bridesmaid dress and watched my life implode. My hands are steady on the wheel, but my heart is racing. We arrive as the ceremony is ending. I can hear the organ playing through the open church doors. We wait in the car until the guests start filing out toward their vehicles, heading to the country club for the reception. "Ready?" Daniel asks. "No, but let's go anyway." The country club looks exactly the same. Same manicured lawn, same fountain out front, same crystal chandelier visible through the tall windows. We walk in just as the reception is beginning. Guests finding their seats, champagne being poured. The moment we step into the ballroom, I feel it. The recognition rippling through the crowd like a wave. Heads turn. Conversations stop mid-sentence. I see Mrs. Henderson 15 years older but still wearing that same expression of scandalized disapproval. Mr. Patterson from my father's firm looking shocked. A dozen other faces I remember from that night, all of them staring. Daniel takes my hand. "I'm right here, Mom." We find seats at a table near the back. No one speaks to us. The whispers start immediately spreading from table to table. Lydia stands at the head table in her ivory gown, and when she sees me, her face goes completely white. Her new husband, Dr. Chen, leans over to ask if she's all right. At the main family table, my parents sit frozen. My father's face turns red. My mother grips the edge of the table like she might fall. The speeches begin. The best man tells a story about how Dr. Chen and Lydia met at a hospital fundraiser. The maid of honor talks about Lydia's resilience through difficult times. Then the MC, a young man with a cheerful voice, says, "Does anyone else want to say a few words to congratulate the bride and groom?" Silence. No one moves. I stand up. The room goes completely still. Daniel stands with me, his hand still in mine. We walk to the front of the room, past tables of people who watched me be destroyed in this very building 15 years ago. The MC looks uncertain, but hands me the microphone. I look out at the crowd, at my mother's horrified face, at my father starting to rise from his chair, at Lydia standing there in her white dress, tears already streaming down her face. 15 years ago. I begin, my voice steady and clear. At a wedding just like this one, I was publicly humiliated. I was 16 years old and pregnant, and my parents stood in front of 200 guests and called me trash. They told me to get out, that I had no place in their house or in this family. My father is fully standing now. "You have no right." "I'm not here for revenge." I continue speaking over him. "I'm here because my sister invited me, because she asked me to come, and because I want everyone in this room to see something." I put my arm around Daniel's shoulders. "This is my son, Daniel. He's 13 years old. He's an honor student. He's kind and brilliant and everything good in my life. He exists because I refuse to let anyone erase him. Because I chose to fight instead of give up." "Get out," my father shouts. "You're disrupting." "Let her speak." The voice comes from the back of the room. An elderly woman stands up, and I recognize her as Mrs. Walker, my first real mentor. "We all remember what you did to her, Robert. We remember how you humiliated your own daughter. Let her speak." Other voices join in. "Yes, let her talk." We want to hear her side. It's been 15 years, for God's sake. My father looks around wildly, realizing he's lost control of the room. My mother sits frozen, her face a mask of shock and something that might be shame. I look directly at Lydia. "I don't know why you invited me today. Maybe to apologize. Maybe to show me you've moved on. But I want you to know something. True honor doesn't come from reputation. It doesn't come from perfect weddings or perfect families or hiding your mistakes. It comes from how you treat the people you're supposed to love, how you protect them, how you stand by them even when it's hard. Lydia is sobbing now, her new husband trying to comfort her. She looks at me and mouths 2 words, "I'm sorry." I nod once. It's not forgiveness, not yet, but it's acknowledgement. "Congratulations on your wedding," I say. Then Daniel and I walk toward the exit. Behind us, the room erupts, voices rising, my father shouting, my mother saying something I can't hear. But we keep walking heads high just like we planned. We're almost to the door when my father's voice cuts through the chaos. "You have no right to be here. You're nothing. You're—" "She has every right." Mrs. Walker's voice again strong and clear. "More right than you do, Robert. We all remember what you did, how you destroyed your own child to save your precious reputation. Well, look at her now. Look at what she built despite you. And look at yourself. Your firm is bankrupt. Your family is broken. You did that, not her." I turn back one more time. My father is standing there trembling with rage or fear or both, and for the first time in 15 years I see him for what he really is. Not a powerful man who destroyed me, just a scared old man who's losing everything. We don't make it to the car before the voices start. As Daniel and I walk through the country club lobby, I hear people following us out. Not my parents, but others. Mrs. Walker catches up first, her hand on my arm. "Jane, wait. I just wanted to say what you did in there took courage. Real courage." Others gather around. Mr. Wu, who used to live on our street. The Johnsons from 3 houses down. People I haven't seen or thought about in 15 years, all of them suddenly wanting to talk to me. "We always thought what your parents did was too much," Mrs. Wu says quietly. "Throwing you out like that. You were just a child. Why didn't anyone say anything?" The question comes out harsher than I intended. "You were all there. You all watched them destroy me, and no one said a word." Mrs. Wu looks down. "We didn't think it was our place. It was family business." It stopped being family business the moment they made it public. I'm shaking now Daniel's hand tight in mine. "But thank you for saying something today. Even if it's 15 years too late." We're almost to the car when my father bursts through the doors, my mother trailing behind him. "This is private family business," he shouts to the small crowd that's gathered. "You have no right to interfere." Daniel stops walking. He turns to face his grandfather, and I realize this is the first time they've ever been this close. My father doesn't even recognize him as his grandson, just sees a teenage boy standing in his way. "Private." Daniel's voice is calm but carries across the parking lot. "You publicly humiliated my mother in front of 200 people 15 years ago. You called her trash. You threw her out with nowhere to go. And now you're worried about privacy." My father stares at Daniel like he's seeing him for the first time. Really seeing him. "Who do you think you—" "I'm Daniel Mitchell. I'm the baby you wanted erased. The grandson you've never met because you decided your reputation was more important than your family." Daniel steps closer. "My mom taught me about fairness and justice. She taught me that hurting people back doesn't make things right. But you know what else she taught me? That truth matters, that consequences matter, and that people who destroy their own children to save face deserve to lose everything." My father's face goes from red to white. My mother stands frozen behind him, one hand over her mouth. "Daniel, come on," I say quietly. "We're leaving." We get in the car to scattered applause. Not much, not everyone, but enough. 2 days later, my phone rings. My mother's number. I haven't seen it on my screen in 15 years, didn't even know I still had it saved. I let it ring twice before answering. "Hello?" "Jane." Her voice is smaller than I remember. Older. "We need to talk. Your father and I. Please. Can we meet somewhere?" Why would I do that? Because we need to discuss what happened at the wedding and other things. A pause. "Please." Against my better judgment, I agree. I choose a cafe downtown, busy and public. Somewhere I can leave easily if I need to. Somewhere with witnesses. They arrive exactly on time. My father walks with a cane, now something I didn't notice at the wedding. My mother has aged dramatically, her hair completely white, deep lines around her mouth. They look like what they are, two old people who've been broken by life. We sit at a corner table. I order coffee. They order nothing. "Thank you for coming," my mother says. Her hands tremble as she folds them on the table. "We need to talk about the past. About what we did to you." "Go ahead." My father clears his throat. "We may have been too harsh. Looking back, perhaps we could have handled things differently." Handled things differently. I let the words hang there. "You mean instead of publicly destroying your 16-year-old daughter, you could have chosen literally any other option?" "It was complicated," he says. "You don't understand the pressure we were under, from society, from our positions. I was a partner at a major firm. Your mother was on the school board. We had reputations to maintain." "So you sacrificed your daughter for your reputations?" "We thought we were doing what was best for everyone, including you," my mother adds quickly. "We thought if we made a clean break, you'd be forced to grow up, to take responsibility." I laugh, a harsh sound. "I was 16 and pregnant. I took responsibility. I raised my son. I built a career. I did everything you said I'd never be able to do." "We can see that," my father says. "And we're impressed. You've done well for yourself." Here it comes. I can feel it building. "The thing is," my mother continues, "we're facing some financial difficulties. The firm is struggling. The house is mortgaged. We're not asking for charity, but perhaps you could help us. A loan? Or business advice? You clearly know what you're doing." I stare at them. "You're not apologizing for what you did to me. You're apologizing because you need money." "That's not fair," my father says. "We're acknowledging that mistakes were made on both sides." "Both sides?" What mistake did I make exactly? Being 16 and scared? Trusting my own parents to help me instead of destroying me? "You got pregnant." His voice rises. "You made a choice that brought shame on this family." "I was assaulted at a party. I didn't know how to say no. I was a child." The words come out before I can stop them. I've never told them this. Never wanted to give them ammunition or excuses. My mother's face crumbles. "Jane, you didn't know because you didn't care enough to ask. You just assumed I was trash and treated me accordingly." I reach into my bag and pull out a folder. I've been carrying it for 2 days ever since the wedding, knowing this moment would come. I slide it across the table. "Before you threaten me again, before you lecture me about family and responsibility, read this." My father opens the folder. Inside are copies of documents from Maria's box, evidence of financial fraud, client complaints, the audit trail that led to his firm's current crisis. His face goes gray. "Where did you get this?" "That's not important. What's important is what I do with it." I lean forward. "You want my help? Fine. Here's my price. You admit publicly what you did to me 15 years ago. You stand in front of the same community that watched you destroy me, and you tell them you were wrong. You apologize for calling your pregnant teenage daughter trash and throwing her out of your house. You take responsibility for your cruelty." "We can't do that," my father says immediately. "Our reputation, your reputation, is already destroyed. I'm offering you a chance to salvage something. Maybe not your business, but your dignity, your integrity. The chance to do one decent thing after 15 years of hiding behind your pride." My mother is crying now, silent tears running down her face. "Jane, please, we're your parents." "No. You stopped being my parents the day you chose your image over your daughter. You're just two people who share my DNA and made my life hell." I stand up. "When you're ready to do the right thing, call me. Until then, I'll be waiting. And so will everyone else who wants to know if you have any decency left." I walk out of the cafe, leaving them sitting there with the evidence of their sins spread out on the table between them. My hands don't start shaking until I'm back in my car, and then I have to sit for 5 minutes before I trust myself to drive. It's done. The confrontation I've imagined for 15 years. And somehow it wasn't enough. Nothing about this feels like victory, just exhaustion. And the knowledge that there's still more to come. That night, I can't sleep. I keep replaying the conversation at the cafe, seeing my father's face when he opened that folder. The shock. The fear. For 15 years, I've imagined confronting them, and now that it's happened, I feel strangely hollow. At 3 a.m, I get up and pull Maria's box from the closet. I've looked through it dozens of times over the years, but tonight I spread everything out on the kitchen table under the harsh fluorescent light. The letters, the financial records, the notes in Maria's careful handwriting. There's one document I've never fully examined tucked at the very bottom. A copy of a contract between Henderson and Associates and a client named Sullivan Industries. The contract is for legal representation in a personal injury case. Nothing unusual about that. But Maria has highlighted several sections and written notes in the margins. Client was awarded 2.3 M settlement, only received 1.8 Ms. Where did $500K go? And below that, Sullivan tried to file complaint. Case mysteriously dropped. Check bank records. I find the corresponding bank records Maria somehow obtained. Deposits into my father's personal account that match the timing of the Sullivan settlement. Not all $500K, but enough to be suspicious. $75K here, $50K there. Spread out over 6 months to look less obvious. Maria's final note at the bottom of the page makes my blood run cold. He's been doing this for years. Multiple clients, millions stolen, use when necessary. Don't let them escape punishment. The next morning, I call Patricia Vance, the lawyer who invited me to the mediation. I tell her I need to refer a criminal matter to someone who handles legal ethics violations and potential fraud. She's silent for a long moment, then asks if this involves Henderson and Associates. It does. Jane, I need to tell you something. I'm not supposed to, but given what you've told me, you should know. The state bar is already investigating your father. Several former clients have come forward in the past month. The Riverside Commons disaster opened up a lot of old wounds. People started comparing notes. How bad is it? Bad enough that the bar is considering suspension or disbarment. And if criminal charges are filed, he could face prison time. She pauses. Whatever evidence you have, the authorities are going to want to see it. I make copies of everything and deliver them to Patricia's office that afternoon. She promises to get them to the right people. As I'm leaving, she says, "Jane, be careful. Your father is a cornered animal right now. People in his position do unpredictable things." The call from my mother comes 2 days later, not asking for a meeting this time, just desperate. "Jane, please, the bank is foreclosing on the house. We have 30 days to come up with the full mortgage balance or they're taking it. Please, you have to help us." Why would I do that? Because we're your parents. Because it's our home. We raised you in that house. Something snaps inside me. You raised me in that house until you decided I wasn't worthy of being there, until you called me trash who didn't deserve a place under your roof. Now you're asking me to save it for you. Jane, please. Mom, do you remember what you said to me at that wedding? Your exact words, "This house has no place for trash like you." Well, it seems those words are coming true. The house won't be yours anymore. Maybe it never really was. She's crying now. We'll lose everything. We'll have nowhere to go. Then you'll know exactly how I felt at 16. Except you're adults with options. I was a child with nothing. I'm sorry we hurt you. Isn't that enough? No, because you're only sorry now that you need something from me. If you still had money and power, you wouldn't have called. You wouldn't have come to that cafe. You'd still be pretending I don't exist. I take a breath. My offer stands. Admit publicly what you did. Take responsibility. Then we'll talk about what help I might be willing to give. I hang up before she can respond. 3 days later, Lydia calls. Her voice is hesitant, almost scared. Jane, it's me. Can we meet, just the two of us? We meet at a park near the river neutral territory. She's thinner than she was at the wedding, dark circles under her eyes. She looks like someone who hasn't been sleeping well. Thank you for coming, she says. What do you want, Lydia? I want to apologize. Really apologize, not like at the wedding. What I did 15 years ago was unforgivable. I knew what they were planning. I could have warned you. I could have stopped it. But I was scared of ruining my perfect day. Tears start running down her face. I've lived with that guilt every single day. When Marcus left me when I found out about Dad's financial fraud, I thought maybe it was karma. Maybe I deserved to lose everything because I let you lose everything. Why are you telling me this now? Because I want to stand by your side. I know it's too late. I know you'll never forgive me. But I want to try to make it right. I'll testify against Dad if you need me to. I'll tell everyone what really happened that day. I'll do whatever it takes. I study her face, looking for the lie. You just want to protect whatever inheritance might be left. There is no inheritance, Jane. It's all gone. The house, the savings, everything. I'm not here for money. I'm here because I'm ashamed of who I was and I want to try to be better. You should have been better 15 years ago. I know I should have, and I can't take that back. But I'm asking anyway. Please, let me help now. Let me do the right thing, even if it's too late. I want to say no. Want to tell her that her guilt isn't my problem, that she made her choice and has to live with it. But I see something in her face that stops me. Real remorse. Real pain. I'll think about it, I finally say. But Lydia, if you're lying to me, if this is some scheme Dad put you up to, I will destroy you too. I have the resources now, and I have nothing left to lose. I'm not lying, I swear. That night my phone rings at 11. Patricia Vance. Jane, I need to tell you something. Someone has been trying to access your business records. Attempted hacks into MCT Consulting's computer system. Requests for information from your bank claiming to be from law enforcement. We traced it back to Henderson and Associates, your father's firm. My stomach drops. What are they looking for? I don't know, but they're desperate. And desperate people do dangerous things. You need to be careful. Vary your routes home. Make sure Daniel is safe. Consider filing for a restraining order. After she hangs up, I sit in the dark living room listening to Daniel's soft breathing from his bedroom. My father is trying to find something he can use against me. Some weakness. Some leverage. But what he doesn't know is that I learned from the best. From him. How to plan. How to be patient. How to strike when your opponent is weakest. And he's never been weaker than he is right now. I increase security at the office and at home. Change all my passwords. Install new locks. Tell Daniel not to walk home alone from school. But I'm not prepared for the betrayal that comes from inside. Sarah Chen has worked for MCT Consulting for 2 years. She's 24, efficient, handles our client database and scheduling. Margaret hired her straight out of college. On a Monday morning, Sarah comes into my office and hands me a resignation letter. I'm sorry to do this with such short notice, she says, not meeting my eyes. I got an offer I can't refuse. Better pay, better position. I hope you understand. Of course. When's your last day? Today, actually. I know it's sudden, but the new position starts immediately. Something feels wrong, but I let her go. We're busy enough that I don't have time to think about it until 3 days later, when Margaret bursts into my office. Jane, we have a problem. Johnson Industries just went with Redstone Consulting instead of us. When I asked why, they said Redstone had information about our proposal that gave them an edge. Details we never made public. My stomach sinks. What kind of details? Our pricing structure, our timeline, our methodology, everything except the actual client names. Margaret's face is pale. Someone leaked our proposal. I spend the next 2 days investigating. I check our computer systems, interview employees, review access logs. Finally, I find it. Sarah accessed our Johnson Industries folder the night before she quit, downloaded everything, then wiped her tracks but not carefully enough. I call the number she listed for her new employer. It's disconnected. Her personal cell goes straight to voicemail. I hire a private investigator, and within 48 hours, I have my answer. Sarah received 3 wire transfers in the past 6 months, $10,000 each. The transfers came from an LLC registered to Mark Sullivan, my ex-boyfriend, Daniel's biological father. The address for Mark's office is in a business park on the north side. I don't call ahead. I just show up at 4:30 on a Thursday afternoon and walk past the receptionist like I belong there. Mark's door is open. He's on the phone laughing about something. When he sees me, the laughter dies. He tells whoever he's talking to that he'll call back. "Jane, what a surprise." "Is it, you've been paying my employee to spy on me? I imagine you knew I'd figure it out eventually." He leans back in his chair, and for the first time I see no guilt in his face, just calculation. "You want to sit down? This might take a while." I'll stand. Start talking. "Your father contacted me about 10 years ago, right after you started MCT Consulting. He was concerned about your business dealings, wanted to make sure you weren't planning anything that might hurt the family." "So you've been working for him for a decade, watching me, reporting back?" He paid well, very well. And it wasn't hard. I'd show up every couple years, pretend I wanted to be involved in Daniel's life, get you emotional and distracted. Then I'd report back that you were focused on your business, not on revenge. It kept your father calm. The room spins slightly. That time you showed up when Daniel was 3 months old, when you said you wanted to do the right thing. That was the first time he hired me. He wanted to see if you'd take money to go away quietly. When you refused, he told me to threaten custody, make you scared, keep you off balance. And Sarah, that was more recent. Your father was worried about the municipal contract, wanted to know what you were bidding. I found Sarah offered her money and she was happy to help. Bright girl. Shame she got caught. I gripped the back of the chair in front of me to stay standing. You've been sabotaging me for 10 years. Monitoring, not sabotaging. Your father didn't want to destroy you. He just wanted to control you, make sure you stayed in your lane. Mark stands up, comes around the desk. But then you started competing directly with his firm, started digging into his business. That changed things. Now he doesn't just want to control you, he wants to stop you. Is that a threat? It's a warning, from me to you. Not because I care about you, but because I care about Daniel. He's my son, even if you never let me be his father. And I don't want him caught in the crossfire of whatever war you're planning. He's not your son. You gave up that right when you abandoned us. Biologically, he's mine, and if you push your father too far, if this gets uglier than it already is, I'll sue for custody. I have money now, resources, a stable home. What do you have? A vendetta and a failing business. I leave before I do something I'll regret. Drive home on autopilot, barely seeing the road. When I get to the apartment, Daniel is doing homework at the kitchen table. "Mom, are you okay?" I'm not okay. I'm the furthest thing from okay. I sink down onto the couch, and for the first time in years, I start crying. Not quiet tears, full sobbing that I can't control. Daniel sits beside me, his arm around my shoulders. What happened? Through the tears, I tell him everything. About Mark. About the betrayal that's been going on for a decade. About how I've been fighting a battle without knowing half my enemies. "Do you want to give up?" he asks quietly. The question stops me. Do I want to give up? Go back to being invisible? Let my father win? I wipe my eyes. Look at my son, who's asking me if I'm strong enough to keep fighting. No. They want me to collapse. They want me to break down and disappear. But I won't let them win. Not now. Not after everything. Then what are we going to do? We're going to finish this. But carefully. Smarter than they are. That night, Daniel sleeps fitfully. I sit in the living room with all the lights off, thinking about Mark's warning, about how far my father might go. My phone buzzes at 2 a.m. Unknown number. A text message with no words, just a photo. It's Daniel leaving school, taken from across the street. Taken today. Then another message, back off or next time it won't be your business we target. It will be your son. My hands shake so badly I almost drop the phone. They're threatening Daniel. My father is threatening his own grandson. I forward the message to the police, immediately file a report online. Then I call Patricia Vance and leave a voicemail. Then I call the private investigator who found Mark. I need you to find everything, I tell him. Every illegal thing Mark Sullivan and Robert Mitchell have done. Every questionable business deal. Every bribe, every lie. I don't care what it costs. I want enough evidence to bury them both. That's going to take time. Then start now. And while you're at it, I need security. Someone to watch my son. Someone to make sure he's safe. After I hang up, I go into Daniel's room. He's sleeping, finally, his face peaceful in the dim light from the hallway. I watch him breathe and make a silent promise. They've made this about him now. They've threatened my child. And that's the one thing I will never, ever forgive. The private investigator I hire is named Robert Chen, no relation to Patricia or to Lydia's new husband. He's ex-FBI, methodical, and expensive. I give him everything. Maria's documents, the leaked business plans, screenshots of the threatening text, the photo of Daniel leaving school. I need enough evidence to put them both away, I tell him. Criminal charges, not just civil. Can you do that? If the evidence is there, I'll find it. But Jane, this kind of investigation takes time. Months, maybe longer. And if we're talking federal charges, money laundering, conspiracy, the FBI will need to be involved. Then involve them. I don't care how long it takes. I need my son safe. The investigation unfolds slowly over the next 8 months. Robert finds connections between Mark and my father that go deeper than I imagined. Shell companies, cash payments disguised as consulting fees. Mark didn't just spy on me. He laundered money from my father's fraudulent settlements through his various businesses. Hundreds of thousands of dollars over a decade, all carefully hidden in layers of corporate structures. Robert brings everything to the FBI. I give my statement, provide the documents, tell them about the threats against Daniel. The agents are professional and thorough. They warn me this could take time, that building a federal case requires patience and precision. 8 months after that threatening text, federal agents arrest Mark at his office. The charges include money laundering, wire fraud, and conspiracy. My father isn't arrested, not yet, but he's summoned for questioning. His lawyer calls Patricia and asks if there's any way to make this go away. There isn't. During those 8 months, Daniel changes. He's always been mature for his age, but now he's scared in a way I've never seen. He asks me every morning if we're safe, checks the locks on the doors before bed, stops walking anywhere alone. Am I safe, Mom? He asks one night after another nightmare wakes him. I hold him like I did when he was small. Yes, I promise. I won't let anyone hurt you. But they took a picture of me. They know where I go to school. I know, baby. That's why we're moving. We relocate to a small apartment on the other side of town. 2-bedroom security building closer to Daniel's school so I can drive him every day. It's temporary, I tell him. Just until the legal situation is resolved. Just until we know everyone involved is locked up or too scared to come near us. One evening, as we're unpacking boxes in the new apartment, Daniel asks the question I've been dreading. Why does grandfather hate you so much? What did you do that was so bad he'd threaten me? I sit down on the floor surrounded by half-empty boxes. I didn't do anything bad, Daniel. But it's time I told you the whole truth. I tell him everything. About the party when I was 16, about not knowing how to say no, about realizing too late that what happened wasn't my choice, about taking the pregnancy test in a Target bathroom and feeling my world end. You mean, I'm not... He can't finish the sentence. You're not the product of a loving relationship. You're the result of something that happened to me when I was too young to understand what was happening. But Daniel, listen to me. That doesn't change anything about who you are. You're not defined by how you were conceived. You're defined by who you choose to be. Does Mark know? Yes. I told your grandparents the day before your grandmother collapsed. I told them you weren't their biological grandson. That's probably part of why grandfather is so desperate now. He threw away his daughter and threatened a child who isn't even blood related to him. That makes him look even worse. Daniel is quiet for a long time. Then, I'm glad I'm not related to him. I don't want his blood. You have my blood, and Maria's blood in spirit if not in biology. And that's enough. The news of the federal investigation spreads through our town like wildfire. My father's face appears in the newspaper gray and haggard, leaving the FBI field office. The article details decades of suspected fraud. Former clients come forward with stories of missing settlement money. The state bar moves to disbar him. My mother's name appears in some articles too. Not as a criminal, but as a victim. The wife who didn't know, the woman married to a man who destroyed lives for profit. Some people feel sorry for her. I don't. Lydia texts me regularly now, updates about our parents, the house in foreclosure, the assets being seized, Dad's health declining from stress. I don't respond to most of them. What is there to say? Then one afternoon, a text comes that's different. Mom collapsed at church this morning. Ambulance took her to Memorial Hospital. Doctor says her blood pressure was dangerously high. They're running tests. It's serious, Jane. Can you come? I stare at the message on my phone. Daniel is doing homework at the kitchen table in our new apartment. Sun streams through the window, catching dust motes in the air. Everything feels suspended. What is it? Daniel asks. I hand him the phone. He reads the message, his face unreadable. Are you going to let her die, Mom? The question hangs in the air between us. Am I going to let her die? Is that what I want? I've spent 15 years building toward this moment. The moment when they lose everything, when they feel the helplessness and fear and desperation I felt at 16. I don't know, I whisper. She's still your mom, even after everything. She called me trash. She threw me out when I needed her most. She chose her reputation over her daughter. I know, and that's horrible. But you're not her. You're better than that. Daniel comes over, sits beside me on the couch. You taught me that revenge isn't the answer. That we prove people wrong by being good, by living well. Is watching her die living well? I close my eyes. He's right. Of course he's right. But after everything, after all the pain and betrayal and threats, the thought of walking back into that hospital, of seeing her lying there vulnerable, of having to make a choice about whether to help, I don't know if I can forgive her. Maybe you don't have to forgive her. Maybe you just have to decide what kind of person you want to be. I look at my son, this remarkable human being who somehow turned out good despite everything. Who's asking me to be better than my worst instincts? Okay, I finally say. Okay, I'll go. But as I pick up my car keys, my hands are shaking, because I know that whatever happens at that hospital, whatever I decide to do or not do, there's no going back from this moment. This is where the revenge either consumes me or I find a way to rise above it. And I honestly don't know which person I'm going to be. I drive to Memorial Hospital alone. Daniel offers to come, but I tell him to stay home. Whatever happens there, whatever I decide, I need to face it by myself. The intensive care unit is on the 4th floor. I take the elevator up, my reflection staring back at me in the polished metal doors. I look tired, older than 31. The weight of 15 years shows in the lines around my eyes. When the doors open, I see him immediately. My father sits in a plastic chair outside room 407, hunched over with his head in his hands. He's lost weight since I saw him at the cafe. His suit hangs loose on his frame. His hair is completely white now. He looks up when my footsteps stop in front of him. For a moment, neither of us speaks. "You came," he finally says. His voice is hoarse. "Lydia said it was serious." "It is. Severe hypertensive crisis. They're trying to stabilize her." He gestures vaguely toward the closed door. "The doctors say the stress of the past year, it finally caught up with her. The stress you caused, the lies you told, the crimes you committed." He doesn't argue, just nods slowly. "You've won, Jane. Everything I built is gone. The firm, the house, my reputation, my freedom, probably once the FBI finishes their investigation. Are you satisfied?" I sit down in the chair across from him, maintaining distance. I didn't want to win. I never wanted any of this. I just wanted to be treated fairly. I wanted my parents to act like parents. We thought we were protecting the family. You were protecting your image. There's a difference. He looks at me, then really looks at me, and I see something I've never seen in my father's eyes before. Defeat. Complete and total defeat. I suppose there is. I suppose I understand that now. He leans back against the wall. "For what it's worth, I'm sorry. Not because I need something from you. Not because I'm trying to manipulate you. I'm sorry because I destroyed my daughter's life and called it parenting. I'm sorry because I turned my grandson into a target. I'm sorry because I became exactly what my father was, and I swore I never would. You're only sorry now that you've lost everything." Maybe. Probably. I don't know anymore. All I know is that your mother is in there dying, and it's my fault. The stress I put her under, the secrets I made her keep, the life I forced her to live. I killed her as surely as if I'd put my hands around her throat. Before I can respond, the door to room 407 opens. A nurse steps out, looks at us both. "Family can go in now, but keep it brief. She needs rest." My father starts to stand, but I'm faster. "I'll go first. Alone." He sinks back down without arguing. I step into the room. The lights are dim. Machines beep quietly. And there in the bed, hooked up to monitors and IV lines, is my mother. She looks small. Fragile. Nothing like the woman who pointed at me and called me trash. Her eyes are closed. I'm about to leave when she speaks. "Jane, I'm here. I heard what your father said, outside." Her voice is weak. "He's right. This is his fault. But it's mine too. I knew what he was doing. I knew about the fraud, the theft, the lies. And I said nothing because I was afraid of losing the life we'd built. You weren't just afraid of losing your life. You were afraid of admitting that you'd suffered too. That grandfather did to you exactly what you did to me." Her eyes open, tears sliding down her face. "How did you know?" "Maria told me. Before she died. The letter father wrote to her." At Maria's name, my mother's face contorts with something like guilt. "Maria, God, Maria, what we did to her." The door opens behind me. I turn, expecting a doctor or nurse, but it's not. An elderly woman steps into the room, white hair cut short, weathered face, glasses. She's wearing a simple cardigan and jeans, holding a worn leather purse. I know that face. I've seen it in my dreams for 15 years. "Maria." The word comes out as a whisper. My father appears in the doorway behind her, his face sheet white. "No, this isn't possible. You're dead. You died 15 years ago." Maria looks at him with an expression I can't read. Not anger, not triumph, just profound sadness. "I died because you tried to kill me, Robert. Or did you forget about that?" The room spins. I grab the edge of my mother's bed to steady myself. "You're alive. You're actually alive. How?" "I knew they were going to kill me." Maria steps further into the room, her voice calm and steady. "After that phone call 15 years ago when your father threatened me, I knew he was serious. He'd already proven what he was willing to do to protect his secrets. So I made arrangements. What kind of arrangements? My father's voice shakes. I had a friend in the police department. Someone your money couldn't buy. We staged the accident, made it look real enough to fool the investigation. The death certificate, the funeral, all of it. She turns to me. I left you everything you needed, Jane. The documents, the evidence, the truth about this family. I knew one day you'd be strong enough to use it. But where have you been? Why didn't you contact me? I've been in California, San Diego to be exact, living under a different name. I couldn't risk your father finding me, but I watched you from afar. I knew when you had Daniel, when you started your business, when you won that municipal contract. I was so proud of you. The postcard, I whisper, the one that said, "Still watching, stay safe." That was from you. Yes, I wanted you to know someone was looking out for you, even if you didn't know who. Maria walks closer to my father, who shrinks back against the doorframe. I came back because the FBI contacted me 3 months ago. They found my name in your financial records, Robert. They tracked me down, asked me to testify about what really happened, about the threats, about why I disappeared. You're lying. Yeah. I'm not lying, and you know it. Maria's voice hardens. You tried to bury me. You tried to bury your daughter. You threatened your own grandson. But we're still here, all of us, still standing, still fighting, and now the whole world is going to know what kind of man you really are. My father's face crumbles. He sinks to his knees right there in the hospital hallway, his hands covering his face. Not crying, just broken, completely and utterly broken. I look at Maria, this woman I thought I'd lost, and something inside me that's been frozen for 15 years finally cracks. You've been alive this whole time. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you. I'm sorry you had to grieve me. But I knew if you thought I was dead, you'd be safe. He couldn't threaten to hurt me if he thought I was already gone. In the bed, my mother makes a sound. When I turn to her, her eyes are wide with something like horror. We really did drive you to fake your own death. We were that terrible. Yes, Maria says simply. You were. And in that moment, standing in that hospital room with a ghost returned from the dead and my parents broken and defeated on either side of me, I realize something. This isn't the end. This is only the beginning of the end. Because Maria's alive. Because she's been gathering evidence for 15 years. Because the full truth is about to come out. And there's nowhere left for my father to hide. The next morning, Maria takes me to downtown to a law office I've never heard of. Patterson and Associates, a small firm that handles estate planning and trusts. The lawyer, an older woman named Ms. Patterson, greets Maria like an old friend. I've been holding something for you for 15 years, she tells Maria, waiting for the right moment. We follow her to a back room where she unlocks a safe deposit box. Inside are manila envelopes, flash drives, and a sealed letter. Maria spreads everything across the conference table. I collected this over 20 years, Maria says. Every questionable contract your father signed. Every client complaint that mysteriously disappeared. Every piece of evidence that he was stealing from the people who trusted him. She picks up one of the flash drives. This has audio recordings, phone calls where he threatened me, conversations with Mark about monitoring you, everything. I pick up the sealed letter. My name is written across the front in Maria's handwriting. What's this? Open it. Inside is a single page. If I truly die, make sure they pay the price. If I'm alive and you're reading this, it means the time has come. Use everything here. Finish what I started. Make sure the cycle ends with you. With love, Maria. I hold the letter feeling the weight of 15 years of preparation. This is it. Everything I need to destroy my father completely, to make sure he faces every consequence. But instead of triumph, I just feel hollow. Are you all right? Maria asks. I don't know. I thought I'd feel different, more satisfied. Revenge rarely feels the way we expect it to. Ms. Patterson clears her throat. Jane, there's something else. Something I discovered while handling your business accounts for MCT Consulting. She pulls out another file. 10 years ago, your company received an anonymous investment of $50,000. It came through a private trust. I wasn't able to identify the source at the time, but recently the trust was dissolved and the records became available. Who was it? Your sister, Lydia. The room tilts slightly. What? She set up the trust right after her first divorce. The instructions were specific. The money was to go to your business. No contact, no acknowledgement. Just support from the shadows. Ms. Patterson slides a letter across the table. This was sealed with the trust documents. The handwriting is Lydia's. Jane, you don't need to forgive me. I don't deserve forgiveness. But I wanted you to win. I wanted you to succeed. I've lived with what I did every single day. This is the only way I knew how to try to make it right. Please use this to build something good. Your sister, Lydia. I read the letter 3 times. Lydia helped me. 10 years ago, when I was struggling to keep the business afloat, when every dollar mattered, my sister quietly gave me $50,000. Money that let me hire employees, buy equipment, compete for bigger contracts. That afternoon, I drive to Lydia's house. She answers the door looking shocked to see me. Can we talk? I ask. We sit in her living room. She's trembling, waiting for me to speak. I know about the investment, I say. The $50,000. Her face crumbles. I'm so sorry. I know it wasn't enough. I know it doesn't make up for what I did. I was a coward, Jane. I chose my wedding over my sister. I let them destroy you, and I did nothing. And I've hated myself for it every single day since. Why didn't you tell me? Why hide it? Because I didn't deserve to be acknowledged. I didn't deserve your gratitude or forgiveness. I just wanted to help without making it about me, without asking for anything in return. I'm quiet for a long time. Part of me wants to stay angry, wants to hold on to the betrayal forever. But another part of me sees a woman who's been punishing herself for 15 years, who tried in her own broken way to make amends. You should have stood up for me that day, I finally say. You should have told Mom and Dad to stop. You should have left the wedding with me. I know. But thank you for trying, for helping when I needed it, even if I didn't know it was you. Lydia looks up at me with red eyes. Does that mean you forgive me? No, not completely, not yet. But it means I acknowledge that you tried, that you did something good, even though you did something terrible first. Maybe that's a start. She nods, tears streaming down her face. That's more than I deserve. I stand to leave. The trial is coming up. Dad's case. They're going to ask me to testify. I'll testify too, Lydia says immediately. I'll tell them everything. About how he forced Mom to keep quiet about her abortion. About how he threatened Maria. About Mark. All of it. Why would you do that? Because it's time someone in this family told the truth. Because I'm done being a coward. She stands too. I can't take back what I did to you, but I can help make sure he faces consequences. As I'm walking to my car, my phone buzzes. An email from the district attorney's office. The subject line reads, State v. Robert Mitchell, Witness Testimony Request. I open it in my car, hands shaking. Ms. Mitchell, we are writing to formally request your testimony in the upcoming trial of Robert Mitchell on charges of fraud, embezzlement, and conspiracy. Your testimony is crucial to establishing the pattern of behavior and the full scope of the defendant's actions. The trial is scheduled to begin in 3 weeks. The entire proceedings will be open to the public. Please contact our office to confirm your participation. 3 weeks. In 3 weeks, I'll stand in a courtroom and tell my story. In front of my father. In front of the community that watched him destroy me. In front of everyone. This is the moment I've been preparing for since I was 16 years old. And I'm terrified. That evening, Daniel finds me staring at the email from the district attorney. He reads over my shoulder, then sits down beside me at the kitchen table. "Mom, will you let me tell the story?" I look at him. 15 years old now, tall and serious with eyes that have seen too much. "What do you mean? Before the trial, before you have to stand up in court. Let me tell our story first. Let people hear it from me." "Daniel, you don't have to do this. This is my burden to carry, not yours." "No, it's my story too. I'm the child they called the shame. I'm the grandson they never wanted. I've lived with this my whole life, Mom. Now I want to speak." He pulls out his phone. "I want to make a video. Tell people what really happened, what they did to you, what it was like growing up knowing my own grandparents wished I didn't exist." "Baby, once you put something like that online, you can't take it back. People will judge you. They'll have opinions about our family, about me, about you." "Let them. I'm not ashamed of who I am. I'm not ashamed of you. And it's time everyone knew the truth." His voice is steady, determined. "Please, Mom, let me do this." I agree, even though every protective instinct tells me not to. We go back to Maria's old apartment, the one I still own but haven't lived in for years. Daniel sets up his phone in the small living room where we survived those first terrible months. He records in one take. No editing, no script, just him speaking directly to the camera. "My name is Daniel Mitchell. I'm 15 years old. I'm the grandson my grandparents never wanted. When my mom was 16, pregnant and scared, her parents stood up at my aunt's wedding in front of 200 people and called her trash. They told her to get out, that she had no place in their house. My mom didn't cry that day. She walked out of that ballroom with her head high even though she had nowhere to go and no one to help her. She was 16 years old and they threw her away like garbage. But she survived. She worked multiple jobs. She raised me alone. She earned her GED, then her associate degree, then her bachelor's. She built a business from nothing. She taught me about dignity and strength and what real family means. And now, 15 years later, my grandparents want us back. Not because they love us, not because they're sorry, but because they're broke and desperate and they think we owe them something. This is what family honor really looks like. This is what happens when reputation matters more than your own children. He uploads it that night. By morning, it has 50,000 views. By noon, 500,000. The comments pour in. People sharing their own stories of family rejection. People praising Daniel's courage. People demanding to know who these grandparents are. 24 hours after posting the video has 5 million views. 48 hours, 10 million. Hashtag justice for Jane is trending nationally. News outlets pick up the story. Local reporters camp outside my parents' house. The church where my mother has attended for 30 years asks them to stop coming. Neighbors who once smiled and waved now cross the street to avoid them. My phone rings constantly. Interview requests. Messages of support. Former clients of my father's calling to say they always knew something was wrong. The story spreads beyond our small community, beyond our state. It becomes a conversation about toxic families, about teen pregnancy stigma, about generational trauma. And through it all, Daniel remains calm, handles the attention with grace I don't possess, reads every supportive comment to me when I'm overwhelmed, reminds me that truth matters more than comfort. Patricia calls on day 3 of the viral storm. "Jane, the prosecution wants to fast-track the case. With this much public pressure, they're pushing for a quick resolution. Your father's lawyer called. They want to discuss a plea deal." "What kind of deal?" "Public apology, admission of guilt, cooperation with authorities, in exchange, reduced prison time." She pauses. "They're scared, Jane. The video changed everything. Your father can either plead guilty and try to salvage some dignity, or go to trial and risk a jury that's already seen Daniel's testimony. Either way, you've won." I hang up and sit in silence. Won. That's what everyone keeps saying. You've won. Your father is destroyed. Your story is told. Justice is coming. But I don't feel victorious. I feel exhausted. Empty. Like I've been running toward this moment for 15 years, and now that I'm here, I don't know what it was all for. Daniel finds me on the couch staring at nothing. Mom, are you okay? I don't know. Everyone says we won, but it doesn't feel like winning. Maybe because it's not about winning. Maybe it's just about truth. About making sure what happened to you never happens to anyone else. He sits beside me. You taught me that revenge isn't the goal. Remember, living well is. I remember. Then maybe this is it. Maybe this is what living well looks like. Not perfect, not triumphant, just honest. I pull him close, this remarkable human being who somehow understands things I'm still learning. When did you get so wise? I had a good teacher. Outside, the world is watching, waiting to see what happens next, waiting for the trial, waiting for justice. And for the first time in 15 years, I'm not sure what I'm waiting for anymore. 2 days after Daniel's video goes viral, Lydia appears on the local evening news. I'm making dinner when Daniel calls me over to the living room. There she is on screen sitting across from a reporter, her face pale but composed. Ms. Chen, you're the sister referenced in the viral video. Can you tell us your perspective on what happened 15 years ago? Lydia takes a deep breath. I knew what my parents were going to do to Jane. I overheard them planning it the week before my wedding. I begged them to wait to handle it privately after the ceremony. But I didn't warn Jane. I didn't protect her. When they stood up and humiliated her in front of everyone, I said nothing. I was a coward. I chose my perfect wedding over my sister's life. The reporter leans forward. Why are you speaking out now? Because I've lived with the guilt for 15 years. Because my sister has every right to never forgive me. Because it's time someone in this family told the truth. Tears stream down her face. I was also shaped by our parents' toxic values. I was also afraid of disappointing them. But that doesn't justify what I did. I let Jane be destroyed to protect my own comfort. I'll regret that for the rest of my life. I watch the interview twice. Then I get in my car and drive to Lydia's house. She opens the door looking startled. Jane, I didn't think you'd come. Can we talk? We sit in her living room. The house is smaller than the one she shared with Marcus, more modest. Evidence of a life rebuilt after everything fell apart. Do you hate me? She asks. I consider the question carefully. You hurt me more than Mom and Dad did, because I expected them to be cruel. But you were my sister. I thought you would protect me. I thought blood meant something to you. It did. It does. But I was weak. I was so desperate for their approval that I sacrificed you for it. She wipes her eyes. I know saying I was also a victim doesn't justify what I did. I had a choice. I could have stood up. I could have left with you. I chose wrong. Yes, you did. Can you ever forgive me? I'm quiet for a long time. Part of me wants to say no, wants to hold on to the anger forever. But I think about the investment she made 10 years ago, about her testimony offer, about the fact that she's publicly admitting her failures on television. I can't say I completely forgive you, I finally answer. Not yet, maybe not ever. But I can acknowledge that you've tried to make amends, that you're doing better now than you did then. Maybe that's enough for now. It's more than I deserve. Maybe one day we can be sisters again. Real sisters, not just people who share DNA. But not today. Today, I just need you to know that I see you trying. And that matters. Lydia nods, more tears falling. I'll wait, however long it takes, even if it's a lifetime. I stand to leave. At the door, I turn back. Thank you for the investment, for the $50,000 10 years ago. I didn't know it was you, but it saved us. It let me build something real. It helped me give Daniel a better life. I'm glad. I'm so glad it helped. She reaches out like she wants to hug me, then stops herself. Take care of yourself, Jane. And Daniel, he's remarkable. He is. Despite everything, he turned out good. As I'm driving home, my phone rings. Unknown number. I answer on speaker. Ms. Mitchell, this is District Attorney Walsh. I wanted to inform you that your parents have agreed to a plea deal. Your father will plead guilty to multiple counts of fraud and embezzlement. Your mother is cooperating fully with the investigation. What does that mean for sentencing? Your father is looking at 5 to 7 years in prison. Your mother won't face charges given her cooperation and the evidence that she was also manipulated by him. He pauses. But there's one condition they've requested. They want to speak with you and Daniel in person before sentencing. They say they have something important to tell you both. It's not required, of course, but they've asked through their lawyer. My hands tighten on the wheel. What could they possibly have to say? I don't know, but given everything that's happened, I thought you should make the choice. Will you come? I think about Daniel's video, about Maria returning from the dead, about Lydia's confession, about 15 years of running from this family and then running toward confronting them. I'll talk to Daniel. We'll decide together. Fair enough. Let me know by tomorrow. I hang up and drive the rest of the way home in silence. My parents want to see us, want to tell us something before my father goes to prison. Part of me wants to refuse, to let them face their consequences without any final words or explanations. But another part of me knows I have to go, have to hear whatever they need to say, have to close this chapter completely before I can move forward. When I get home, Daniel is waiting. Who called? The DA. Your grandparents want to meet with us before your grandfather is sentenced. Are we going? I don't know. What do you think? Daniel is quiet for a moment. Then, I think we should go. Not for them, for us. So we can look them in the eye one last time and know we're the ones walking away strong. I pull him into a hug. When did you become wiser than me? I had a good teacher. The meeting takes place in a small conference room at the courthouse. Daniel and I sit on one side of a scratched wooden table. My parents sit across from us, looking diminished. My father has aged a decade in the past year. My mother's hands shake as she folds them on the table. Thank you for coming, my father begins. His voice is hoarse. We wanted to apologize to Daniel, to tell him that despite everything, he's still our grandson. Blood is still blood. We failed you both, but family is family. I reach into my bag and pull out an envelope. Before you say anything more, read this. My father opens it slowly. Inside are test results from a DNA laboratory, dated 10 years ago. His eyes scan the page, then widen. He passes it to my mother without a word. I don't understand, my mother whispers. Daniel is not Mark's son, I say clearly. 15 years ago at that party where I got pregnant, I wasn't with Mark. I was assaulted by one of his friends, a boy whose name I didn't even know. I was 16 and drunk, and I didn't know how to make it stop. I feel Daniel's hand find mine under the table. When I discovered I was pregnant, I assumed it was Mark's. But when Daniel was 5, I needed to know for certain. So I did a DNA test. And I found out the truth. I kept it secret to protect Daniel from knowing he was conceived through violence. My mother's face has gone white. You mean, all this time you destroyed your daughter and threatened your grandson over a child who isn't even related to you by blood. But here's the thing, it wouldn't have mattered if he was. Because what you did was evil regardless. I wasn't a promiscuous teenager making bad choices. I was a victim. And you made me a victim twice. My father sinks back in his chair like all the air has left his body. We didn't know. Jane, we didn't know. You didn't ask. You didn't care enough to ask why or how or what I needed. You just cared about your reputation. Daniel speaks for the first time. Mom protected me from this truth for 15 years. She let me believe my conception was just a teenage mistake rather than violence. That's what real love looks like. That's what real protection is. Not what you did. The prosecutor enters, glances at the scene, clears her throat. I'm sorry to interrupt, but we need to proceed. Sentencing is in an hour. She looks at my mother. Mrs. Mitchell, you requested to speak with your daughter privately. My mother nods, unable to speak. The prosecutor looks at me. Jane, are you willing? I want to say no. Want to walk out and never look back. But something in my mother's face stops me. Not manipulation. Just brokenness. Fine. 10 minutes. They take us to a smaller room, just 2 chairs and a table. My mother sits down heavily, and for the first time I see her as she really is, an old woman who's lost everything. Do you know why I did what I did? She asks. I'm sure you're about to tell me you had good reasons. I didn't have good reasons. I had trauma. She takes a shuddering breath. When I was 17, I was also assaulted. At a party. The son of a wealthy family in town. I told my parents and they didn't believe me. Said I must have led him on. Your grandfather took me to a clinic and forced me to have an abortion. No police report. No consequences for the boy. Just silence and shame and the message that it was my fault. My anger falters. Mom. After that, they arranged my marriage to your father. A good match, they said. Someone respectable who would make me forget. But I never forgot. I carried that shame every day. And when I saw you pregnant at 16, I saw myself. I saw the girl I was, and I was terrified you'd suffer like I did. So you made me suffer worse. I know. I thought if I was harsh, if I forced you to be independent, you'd be stronger than I was. You'd survive what I couldn't. But all I did was repeat the cycle. I became my parents. I became the people who destroyed me. Tears stream down her face. I wasn't protecting you. I was punishing you for reminding me of my own pain. I sit with this information, trying to reconcile the cruel woman from my memories with this broken person in front of me. You should have protected me. You went through it yourself. You knew what it felt like. And you still chose to hurt me. I know. There's no excuse. Understanding where my cruelty came from doesn't make it right. I failed you in every way a mother can fail. She wipes her eyes. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry. Truly, deeply sorry. And I know now that what I did was wrong. Completely wrong. I stand to leave, but she grabs my hand. There's one more thing. Your father. He also has secrets about his childhood, about his father. The cycle goes back further than just me. Further than you know. What are you talking about? Your grandfather wasn't your father's biological father. Your grandmother had an affair. Your grandfather found out and spent your father's entire childhood making him prove he was worthy of the family name. The abuse, the pressure, the obsession with reputation, it all comes from that. We're all victims of this cycle, Jane. All of us. My blood runs cold. How many generations? How far back does this poison go? That doesn't excuse what you did to me. No, it doesn't. But maybe it explains why we couldn't break free. Why we repeated what was done to us. She releases my hand. Go. Be with your son. Break the cycle. Don't let it touch him the way it touched all of us. I walk out without another word, but her confession follows me like a shadow. After leaving my mother, I find my father in the courthouse waiting room. He sits alone on a bench, staring at nothing. His hair is completely white now. The transformation from the commanding lawyer I remember to this broken old man is startling. Mom says you have a secret about grandfather, I say, sitting down beside him. He's silent for so long I think he won't answer. Then, I wasn't his biological son. My mother had an affair. He found out when I was 10 years old. Why didn't he divorce her? Because divorce would have been a scandal, would have made people talk. So he kept the secret and made me pay for it instead. My father's voice is flat, emotionless. Every day he reminded me I wasn't his blood, that I had to prove I deserved to be part of the family. I had to be perfect, top of my class, best athlete, law school, the right marriage. Everything calculated to erase the stain of my existence. So you did the same thing to me. When you got pregnant at 16, I saw myself. The shame, the stain, the thing that had to be hidden or eliminated to protect the family image. He finally looks at me. I spent my whole life trying to prove I wasn't worthless. And when you made a mistake, all I could see was my own failure reflected back at me. I thought if I was harsh enough, if I cut you off completely, maybe I could still save the family reputation. Still prove to my dead father that I was worthy. But I wasn't a stain. I was your daughter. I know that now. Too late, but I know it. His hands shake. I became the very person I hated most. I became my grandfather. I destroyed you the way he destroyed me, and I told myself it was for your own good, that you'd be stronger for it. Tears run down my face. I understand you were a victim. I understand the cycle of abuse goes back generations, but that doesn't justify what you did. Trauma doesn't give you permission to hurt your own child. No, it doesn't. You're right. He stands slowly. Your mother filed for divorce yesterday. After 40 years, she finally chose herself over me. Maybe that's her way of breaking the cycle. And you broke it by refusing to let it destroy Daniel the way it destroyed all of us. I stand too. This is the last time I'll see you before prison. I know. Jane, I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I'm glad you survived us. I'm glad you became everything we said you'd never be. I walk away without another word. 3 weeks later, the house goes up for auction. The bank has foreclosed and everything must be sold to pay debts. Daniel and I arrive as the crowd gathers. Neighbors, investors, reporters, all curious to see the fall of the Mitchell family home. My parents stand on the sidewalk outside, not allowed on the property by court order. My mother is crying. My father looks like a ghost. The auctioneer begins. Starting bid, $300,000. A few hands go up. The price climbs. $350, $400, $420, $450. I raise my hand. $500,000, cash. The room goes silent. Everyone turns. They recognize me now. The daughter who was thrown out. The mother who built an empire from nothing. Sold to Jane Mitchell for $500,000. As we walk outside, my parents rush toward us. To my shock, they both drop to their knees right there on the front lawn. Dozens of people watch. Phone cameras come out. Please, my father begs. Let us stay here. This is our home. We have nowhere else to go. My mother reaches for Daniel. We were wrong. We're sorry. You're still our grandson blood or not. Please, Daniel, tell your mother to give us another chance. Daniel looks down at them for a long moment. When he speaks, his voice is calm and clear. You kicked my mother out of this house when she was 16 years old. You called her trash. For 15 years, you never tried to find us. Never called. Never asked if we were okay. Now you're on your knees not because you love us, but because you need something. You're not sorry for what you did. You're sorry you got caught. You're sorry you lost everything. But you know what? You didn't apologize when it mattered. You didn't choose us when you could have. He takes my hand. Now it's too late. We walk past them up the steps into the house. I close the door and lock it behind us. Outside, I hear voices, neighbors whispering, someone helping my father stand. Car engines starting as people leave, having witnessed the final chapter of the Mitchell family tragedy. Inside, Daniel and I stand in the living room where I grew up, where I once felt safe before everything shattered. What are we going to do with this place? Daniel asks. I think about Maria, about all the girls like me who need somewhere safe, somewhere they won't be judged or thrown away. Tomorrow we're turning this into something that matters, I say. A place where teen mothers can find help, support, education. Everything I didn't have. Daniel smiles. Maria's house. Maria's house. Outside, my parents finally stand and walk away, leaving behind the home they valued more than their daughter. And inside, Daniel and I begin planning how to transform a place of pain into a place of healing. The cycle ends here, with us, with this choice. 6 months of renovation transforms the house. We tear down walls that held secrets, paint over memories with fresh colors. The formal dining room where my parents hosted their perfect dinner parties becomes a classroom. My childhood bedroom becomes a nursery for mothers who need childcare while they study. The living room where I was never quite good enough becomes a counseling space where girls learn they are enough exactly as they are. The sign goes up the week before opening. Simple letters on warm wood, Maria's house a safe place for young mothers. Over 200 people attend the opening ceremony. Mrs. Walker, who taught me that knowledge is power. Patricia Vance, who helped me navigate the legal system. Former clients from MCT Consulting. Reporters who covered the story. And standing near the front, Lydia and Maria side by side. I step up to the microphone we've set up on the front lawn. 15 years ago, I was kicked out of this house. My parents told me I was trash, that I had no place here. Today, I'm opening these doors to every girl who's been told the same thing. To every young mother who needs support instead of judgment. This house once represented everything wrong with valuing reputation over people. Now it represents something different. Hope, second chances. The truth that your worst moment doesn't define your future. Daniel cuts the ribbon and the crowd applauds. Girls start arriving immediately, some with babies, some still pregnant, all of them scared and trying to be brave, just like I was. My father was sentenced 3 weeks ago. 3 years in federal prison. The judge called his crimes a betrayal of trust that spanned decades. He didn't look at me when the sentence was read. My mother filed for divorce the next day. She lives in a small apartment, now works part-time at a bookstore. Sometimes I see her from a distance and we both look away. But she writes to Daniel. Not to me, never to me, but to my son. Short letters about how she's trying to be better, how she's in therapy, how she understands now what she couldn't see before. Daniel reads them all, folds them carefully and puts them in a box in his closet. Are you going to write back? I ask him once. Maybe one day, but not today. That's okay. You get to decide when you're ready. Lydia volunteers at Maria's house 3 days a week. She teaches financial literacy to the girls, helps them understand credit and budgeting and how to build stability. We work together, but we're not close. Not like sisters should be. Maybe we never will be. But she's trying, and I acknowledge that. I'll never ask you to fully forgive me, she tells me one afternoon while we're organizing donations. I know, and I appreciate that you don't ask. Am I doing okay? Here, I mean, am I helping? You're doing well, Lydia. You're doing good work. It's not warmth, but it's not coldness either. It's something in between. Something that might, with years and effort, turn into a real relationship. On Sunday, Daniel and I drive to the cemetery. We still keep Maria's symbolic grave, the one from 15 years ago, when we thought she was dead. Fresh flowers every week, even though Maria herself often joins us. Today, she's already there, sitting on the bench near the headstone. She's 67 now, her hair completely white, but her eyes are still sharp and kind. You did it, she says as we approach. Not alone. You gave me the foundation, the evidence, the truth about what this family really was. And now you're giving others that same foundation. Maria stands, looks toward the house visible in the distance. This is true revenge, Jane, not destruction. Creation, building something good from something terrible. Daniel puts his arm around my shoulders. Do you have any regrets, Mom? I think about the question carefully. I don't regret having you. I don't regret fighting. But I regret losing 15 years we could have had as an actual family. Years where you could have had grandparents who loved you, an aunt who was present, a mother who wasn't always exhausted and afraid. We are a family now, Mom. You, me, Maria, the girls at the house, Mrs. Walker. That's family. You're right. And the cycle ends with us. It doesn't touch you. It stops here. We leave as the sun sets, golden light painting everything warm. At home, there's a letter waiting. No return address. I recognize my mother's handwriting. Dear Jane, I don't ask for forgiveness. I only ask that you know I'm trying to be better. One day at a time. I'm in therapy. I'm facing what I did and what was done to me. I'm learning that hurt people, but that doesn't have to be forever. You broke the cycle. I'm trying to learn from your strength. With hope, Mom. I fold the letter carefully, put it in a drawer with the others she's sent. I don't respond. I'm not ready to respond. Maybe I never will be, but I don't throw them away either. Perhaps some wounds take a lifetime to heal. Perhaps some relationships can never be fully repaired. But at least now the bleeding has stopped. At least now we're all choosing something different than what was chosen for us. The cycle ends here, with love instead of shame, with truth instead of secrets, with Daniel and Maria's house and a future that looks nothing like the past. And that finally is enough. If this story touched your heart, if Jane and Daniel's journey moved you, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever faced a moment where you had to choose between what others expected and what you knew was right? Have you experienced the pain of family rejection or the strength it takes to build something new from broken pieces? Your story matters, and this community is here to listen. What struck you most about this journey? Was it Maria's return from the dead? The moment Daniel said too late, or perhaps Jane's decision to transform her childhood home into a sanctuary for others? Share your perspective because every comment helps others feel less alone in their struggles. And if you believe in stories about breaking toxic cycles, about choosing healing over revenge, about proving that your worst moment doesn't define your future, then please subscribe to this channel. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a story about resilience, redemption, and the courage it takes to rewrite your own ending. Remember, Jane started with nothing but a baby and a fierce determination to survive. 15 years later, she didn't just survive. She thrived. She built an empire. She protected her son. She broke a cycle of abuse that spanned generations. If she could do that, imagine what you're capable of. Thank you for listening to Jane's story. Thank you for witnessing her truth. And thank you for being part of a community that believes people deserve second chances, that wounds can heal, and that sometimes the greatest revenge is simply living well and helping others do the same. Leave a comment, subscribe, and remember the cycle ends when someone is brave enough to choose differently. Maybe that someone is you.